2024 was an amazing year for comics. I don't think there's anybody who would disagree with that. But that doesn't mean that everything is sunshine and roses and that 2025 is going to be a perfect year. There are some pitfalls on the horizon, and it is up to the people in power to recognize them and address our concerns early so that we can have a beautiful, wonderful year in comics. I think, though, there is reason to be concerned about whether or not things are going to work out the way they need to. And that's what we're here to talk about today. Uh, we've got Tyler.
Hello, I'm alive.
Thank goodness. We've also got me. I'm Sean. I've got a milk carton next to me with Marco's face on it. Hopefully someone finds our son. Um, it's 10 a.m. Do you know where your children are? You know, that
Do you know
type
where
of
your
thing.
Marco is?
Yeah. Do you know where your robot son is?
He forgot to
Um,
charge last night. You know you don't charge your phone overnight.
yeah,
Yeah, it
I
happens.
I've been there. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, certainly. And thank you all for being here, whether you are live with us or in the future. Near says first show I'm awake for. Usually I put it on, then pass out. Well, hey, if you're sleeping to my voice, thank you. I like that.
And if you're sleeping in my voice, I'm sorry.
By the way, this is, oh, wow, look at that. Matthew Price. Good to see you, Matthew. By the way, this is not a doom and gloom uh topic. It's not about that. We're not here to say things are going to be hellish in 2025. You guys heard we did an episode about what the big two need to get right in 2024. This is really just an extension of that idea and taking a broad look at the industry and the good and bad and what we can expect. So let's kick things off because between DC Comics and all the great things they did, they won Publisher of the Year for us in the Pallies. Between Image and Skybound and Ghost Machine and all the great stuff that they were able to accomplish, and Marvel, I guess, waving the perennial red flag as the biggest and best of us who didn't have the absolute best year. There are a lot of reasons to feel good about comics. Absolutely. The absolute universe, the ultimate universe, great stuff.
And on last week's episode, we talked about how 2024 was probably one of the best overall years in comics, specifically for the big two that we've had in since I've been podcasting. Maybe just in terms of just the widespread of quality.
People bring up the first couple of years of Rebirth as like a really high point, and I would agree with that for the 2010s. But I don't know if the sales match that era, but I definitely think from a total industry standpoint, 2024 is the best overall year since I've been reading comics. That is my opinion. If you disagree, if someone disagrees with that, it is what it is. But I think when you look at the big two and you look at the rest of comics, where you can have a Skybound, you can have a Ghost Machine, you can have a Distillery, a Boom, and everybody's doing well, I don't know when I've seen that before.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And that's all wonderful. And I'm really happy about that. I can't wait to see ICV2 sales reports for the year because I think what they're going to reflect is the year that comics really bounced back again post COVID because 2022's numbers are false. 2021's numbers are false in the sense that they reflect everybody having their stimmies. The stimulus checks were in full effect, and a lot of us dorks were like, "Hey, I got this money. What comics can I get?"
We're getting those again, right? Because Trump's back.
Right.
Oh.
And so those numbers are, they're phantoms to me. Things did go down, right? And that's okay. I think 2024 is going to reflect an industry that was able to stand on its own 2 feet without the benefit of the stimulus checks and bring people through those doors. Red Band was such a success, right? That it brought people back to the stores. No. Oh.
I'm gonna let that
All
hang
right.
for a bit because it's a big old nope.
Oh. Okay.
It
Fair
got it
enough.
got me into a store though initially.
Red Band.
Yeah, yeah. I went to my comic shop to make sure I got that. The first one, at least, of Blood Hunt, but
Right.
did not keep me in there.
If if I was not an active comics store goer, Red Band definitely wouldn't have been the reason I went back. But you know, hey, those Justice League cards, pretty cool. Pretty
I
cool.
wouldn't know.
I am a member of the league.
I'm not a member. I'm just a civ.
That sucks.
I know. I'm gonna get like squashed by a rogue a Nissan Altima that went flying after a Zod fight.
No, dude, what you're lacking is you don't know about those parties. You don't know about the parties.
I bet the Justice League parties are very similar to like what I imagine after shift Renaissance fair parties are, and by that I mean like a lot less clothing.
Your references always throw me for a loop. I was thinking about the Olympics. You know how they talk about the Olympics and how
Oh, okay.
they deliberately like make the beds
I,
awkward so
I
you can't have
think
sex in them?
I think we're getting to the same location just by means of different routes.
Yeah, so you don't know about the Watchtower parties. Let me just say this. One position you never want to find yourself in is 2 a.m. with the lasso of truth on your body.
Don't want to find your.
No, you don't.
Somebody
Because
needs
you
to have the
say
lasso on him right now. It's not. Someone's not telling the fucking truth.
you say things you don't want to say. But um anyway, Geeks of the Roundtable says, "Okay, are we talking comics and graphic novels or just comics because people just talk only comics." Dude, we're talking big picture stuff right now. We're talking industry at
We're
large
talking open your third eye and let's get
about
into it.
comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, so let's kick things off. The biggest thing that I am worried about for 2025. Well, I'm not going to start with the biggest thing. The big two set a foundation with the absolute and ultimate universes, where I think a lot of new people have come into comics. And I never thought that I would get on this podcast and say that. Um, I really, really, truly didn't. I never thought that I would say, hey, I think there are a lot of people jumping into the fold. But there are. One of the advantages of what we do is that we get to see firsthand people filing in and say, "Hey guys, I just started reading comics last year. I just jumped on in March. I just jumped on in November." We see it all the time.
I, I even saw like one of the Barstool guys on Twitter posted about Absolute Batman. Like
Wow.
it's breaking traditional what you would imagine comic book nerd fans to be, you know?
Yeah. And that's exciting. Like that's exciting. I think we do have new people jumping into the fold who
Who have allergies, but also maybe want to read comics. I think that's what Sean was getting at. He was just miming it for us all.
you guys know I've been sick as a dog and I'm still fighting a battle. Give
Have
me
you
one more
decided
moment.
like you could just like stop being sick, Sean? I think that's a thing you could do. You could just decide, like, hey, I'm good now. This isn't going to be a thing I deal with. Just gaslight yourself is what I'm trying to tell you.
Thank you for the vamping.
Yep.
Um one day I'll be unsick, one day, but I can't miss the show. So, um we've got new people jumping into the fold who think that the greatest comics of all time can be purchased for $10 in manga size, and that the absolute and ultimate universe are the best things since sliced bread and don't require you to have a pull list as long as mine to keep up, right?
What pull list?
Well, a stack, you know what I mean.
I go to Pal's Pulls for that joke.
Right. Um so that's where I want to start is that those initiatives that are kind of these micro lines, we did a whole episode about the micro lines. Those initiatives did so much and brought and get got so much goodwill with new readers, lapsed readers, people who don't necessarily care about the bigger happenings of these massive universes with thousands of characters and dozens of books. They're not interested in all that, but they are interested in the the flat start of Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. How do you keep people like that in the fold without overwhelming them with Baby's first event and 57 tie-ins and the absolute Steve Trevor miniseries and all these things that the big two would typically do that wear you the fuck out? How do you not wear these new readers out who don't want all that? And is that something to be concerned about?
I think it is because I think there's a tightrope that you need to walk. And I think so far so good, but comics is comics, so there's a chance they can tip over in the wrong direction. I think you're right. It's a very curated line right now, and it's very specific. Pretty much across the board on those micro lines. You got Energon, you got um, Absolute, you got Ultimate Universe. I spoke with Robert Kirkman, writer of Void Rivals, something called The Walking Dead. I don't know, I haven't read it. And he talked about the Energon line and how they initially wanted to launch with a whole bunch of these miniseries for G.I. Joe just to be able to introduce those characters, but they're going to keep the G.I. Joe line to just G.I. Joe. And then really it's just G.I. Joe, Transformers, and Void Rivals. And they want to keep it small because uh, it becomes small enough where everyone you can pretty much buy every issue,
Sure.
um, and not big enough where you're going to feel like you're missing out on stuff. And you can really get the entire story there. And like right now, that's where um, pretty much the three of those microlines are. Ultimate has 4 books currently, with an impending possible event. And then Absolute is going to be expanding to 6. Uh, Absolute, I think, has the biggest risk right now, I think, of maybe tipping over.
Well, Absolute's expanding to 7, and Ultimate Universe is expanding to 5 with Wolverine
Oh,
here
Wolverine,
soon.
forgot about Wolverine, yeah. So yeah, I feel like there's a little risk here and there. You don't the idea of people coming to your microlines is because mainline books can be overwhelming. There's 13 Batman books. There's how many Spider-Man books? This is more straightforward. I know which one to read. Boom, I can pinpoint that. If you start making the problem that people ran from in the first place, then you're eliminating the use of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I wanted to respond to Roger Hernandez, who says, "Hey guys, just checking in to leave a like, then dipping. Got a job interview in 30 minutes, dude. Good luck, crush it, be your best self, get that job.
And when you shake their hand and you say thanks, give a little tickle to the palm. Power move.
Do not do that.
Okay.
That does not work.
Okay. Oh, actually,
That
it did not work for me last time I tried it. Okay. Good point.
Oh man, since I'm saying hello, let me say hello to Rami Darwish, who was with us today as ever. James Jones, perennial winner of the stat game, also perennial attendee of this podcast.
Suspect winner at this point.
Legatus Vaith, there's a name I haven't seen in a while. What's up, dude? Says, I think by far the biggest thing I would like is a continued focus on good stories and keeping the lines tight. It's so incredibly draining trying to keep up with 20 plus Marvel books and or 15 plus DC books. Yeah, I mean, look, man, I couldn't agree more. It is very difficult. I obviously am, and you guys know this, I'm the kind of person I love that shit, right? I eat it up. I think it's great that we've got these massive lines. I want there to be all those Marvel books, all those DC books on the stands. But you know what? I learned the hard way through experience and trial and error that I don't have to buy them all. I don't.
I'm kind of with you. I'm reading a lot of DC right now.
Yeah.
Like probably more DC than I've ever read at one point. But I also have mental illness and I'm insane. So you don't have to be like me. um, there is like that could be, oh, look who it is. That could be overwhelming for some. So just, be careful.
We are being joined by our lost child. Marco is joining us here. Um,
Gentlemen,
Hello.
Hello.
Are you charged up? Did you get your you had to do updates this morning, right? You know, like when you boot up
yeah,
your computer and it's like
drivers and whatnot.
yeah, not Marco's computer, Marco himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boot right back up. Make sure the latest version's out.
Yeah, we're on version 69, which is going to be a problem for everyone.
Kyle says this is why I stick to Epic Collection and Omnibus. It's too much to collect. Yeah, I mean there has to be a middle ground, right? There has to be a way for a person to say, and not you, like you do what makes you happy, but there has to be a middle ground between I want to read weekly comics, but I don't want to keep up with 2,700 single issues and there I can't keep up because there's too much, so I'm only going to read collected editions. What about the person who's not willing to do that but wants to have a pull list of about 5 comics? That's reasonable. And how do we serve that person?
And I'm trying to get put myself back in my shoes of when I had a pull list of 5 comics, and we were in a time machine going to that because I think that was around Bendis's time, kind of curating Marvel and the events. And I think that's what I picked up. I picked up like the stuff that was directly tied into things like Civil War. So in a way, I had my own micro line because I was pinpointing just those specific things.
Damn, wow. It's hard for me to imagine doing that at that period just because of how many insanely good books there were in the market, but whatever works for anybody. That's the beauty of comics. The books are there. It's up to you to decide how you collect them and how you consume them. But the problem is that everybody doesn't know that. We don't all know that. When you look at the From the Ashes line and you just look at the books, you're like, dude, this is too much. This is too much. I cannot keep up with all this. If I wanted to buy all these X books, I'd be dropping like $20 a week on just X-Men comics. And so what do? Well, Tom Brevoort says if you read his Substack, hey, we're putting these out there for every kind of audience member. We're putting this out there for every kind of reader. You don't have to buy everything. But the problem is that Tommy B is not on this podcast saying that. He's saying that in his Substack, which isn't like is it reaching more people than we are? Maybe. Like he's obviously a bigger deal than us. But the thing is that the pulse of the people who you need to talk to isn't your Substack because everybody on your Substack is probably 30, 40, 50 years old with a decade of readership under their belt already. You need to hit people who don't know your name yet because they're so new. They need to hear that from you.
Marketing, maybe? Huh? In a comic shop?
Awareness.
Yeah, I just yeah. But at the same time, like, if you cater to those people, you're gonna want to upsell them. You're gonna want to draw them to a 6, issue pull list, 7, 8. Let's make it 10. Let's double that pull list, buddy. And maybe that's the idea.
I agree, but I guess the point of the topic, right, is like how many people do you lose in translation of that who get overwhelmed? It's not like
How many people like at the car dealership once they hear the sticker shock leave afterwards?
right.
Yeah.
And the difference is that when you sell a car, you're selling I don't know how expensive cars are. You're selling a machine that's tens of thousands of dollars, right? When you sell a comic, you're selling something that costs $4. You know, you got to sell a lot of those, man. And so to me, the communication is so critical, and I just don't feel like they do enough of that to let people know how they need to think about this stuff.
It feels like they don't care to because they kind of know there's going to be a locked in crowd. So the new buyer almost builds an expectation that, oh, this is normal. This is a good cost actually. Like oh, $4 for a comic, yeah, that makes sense. And you kind of get built into or pushed into the habit. Um, and uh, I think that's the only thing that the community does to help newcomers in is you set up certain practices and standards. And if price becomes a standard, then I think it doesn't become a concern for the company because it's almost expected you're going to pay that.
Is the onus put on comic shops then? Because the model is the comic shops buy the books. Marvel only cares about that. You know, that's how they get their money. The comic shops then need to sell that.
You are absolutely correct, and I think it's one of the problems that we have with as an industry is that there are these different like levels of, well, whose responsibility is it to get people through the doors? Is it the publishers? Is it it's not the distributor? Is it, is it the comic shop? Whose responsibility is it? I don't know. It's a tough thing, but look at the chat. Look at the chat. So Planet 628 says, I wish I could get down to 5. I've decided recently I'm waiting for miniseries to publish in trade paperback. So right away, we've got Planet 628, who they've lost as a person buying at least miniseries on a weekly basis. It's better for Marvel and DC and everybody else. This is just true. It's better for them if you go to the store and you buy single issues. That is a fact. Why? Because single issues are the least cost effective way to read comics ever. It's not efficient, but they don't want you to think about that. So when you get to the point that you say, I'm cutting this out of my budget, I can't do it, that is a direct loss for comics and it's a direct loss for your LCS. But it's going to happen when there are so many books on the stands and you can't make up your mind, but your wallet is yelling at you to stop. That's how it'll go.
You have to build you have to buy to the budget. Like at some point, that is just the thing you swallow. Like, going to the store and having, okay, I know for sure $20, $30. That's all I can do. Plus maybe the trade or discount that you get. So yeah, it sucks that that becomes the game is I comics are the first medium that I've enjoyed that I've had to build out a payment tracker for because at some point I was like, wait, how much am I spending on this?
I think the other thing too we need to like because we don't really talk about it too much on the show. We really talk about the actual quality and the content of the books, but there is a collecting aspect to it. You know, there's covers. I think Cosm the Andric mentions it in the chat there. But like there's different variant covers. People are buying single issues to collect them as well. It's like a Pog. It's like a Pokemon card. That I don't think the trade market is the same. So yes, it's the least bang for your buck in terms of content, but there is an extra oomph to it in the collection aspect of it.
I think you could do it at the trade level. I think you could do it at all those levels. That's why they
Nobody's
have like
grading
different kind of
trades, you know.
well, maybe not the grading aspect, but
That's the
rather
collection
like
aspect, though. You know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
there's shelf porn and there's collecting. Like I
exactly.
can't see my
Oh,
comics. I have physical comics. I can't see. They're not displayed. I'm hoarding them. There's just a collection.
The the collector aspect leaves when you stop talking about single issues and comes back when you start talking about omnibuy.
Yeah.
yeah.
It doesn't exist before you get to the omnibus space. I love to buy an omnibus, but I can tell you that a lot of them are things I've already read that I just want to own collected. It's not about, oh, I've never read this, so I need to read it. That's not why I buy them. And I would argue most people don't buy them for that.
I've never bought an omnibus as an unknown. It is a
There
known
you go.
quantity already that I read in single issues.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're never gonna try one.
Yeah, you're gonna spend a hundred. If you go by the market price, if you go by the sticker price, you're dropping a hundred to $150 on an omnibus.
A whim.
The only
Yeah.
times I've done that were for Grant Morrison books because it was like I never read Animal Man. I'm going to buy the omnibus, but that's
Sure.
because it's Grant Morrison.
I did it for Sandman
Sure.
because
Yeah.
it's
Oh
Sandman.
It's a
yeah.
safe bet.
Did you
It's a
finish
known
that?
quantity. The Sandman put him to
Uh,
sleep, I think.
Yeah.
it was. I mean, it was great. I don't know. We stopped. We did our thing,
That
and
was it.
then
Yeah.
I was done.
Serves a
Um,
purpose.
yeah. Gage says if you only want 5 comics, I think that's easy. It'll probably be the heroes you like or the creatives you like. If you want more, or we're talking about how to get more readers, dude. I have to read. And obviously I do a podcast, it's different. I have to read 6 books for this show, okay? Every week. That is a fraction of what I am actually interested in per week in comics. It would not be possible. I'd have to stop reading. It would not be possible for me to limit my weekly list to 5 books. I can't do that. I can't.
Just for the show, not even. Like
Right.
Pals Polls is just the pick of the week going forward.
I loved it this much.
Yeah, I can't do that. And I know that there are people who have different levels of interest than I do and stuff like that, and that's cool. But how hard, like, is there anybody here who goes to the comic shop every week and only grabs 5 books? That sounds like a challenge, not a reality.
I'm a bit of a technicality no down boo over because I've gone to the shop to pick up physically. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Mr. Funiverse says, honestly, I don't even try to keep up with all the tie-ins and such. I started comics as a kid, picking up a random graphic novel and jumping right in. I just enjoy the stories I'm interested in, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm
Easy.
happy for that.
I wish I didn't have a collector's mentality, or like the thing is with comics for me, it's like it becomes a branching path. I read one thing, I get interested in this character, I want to read more of that, and then
Right.
I think it's just I have issues.
It could
No.
be a self-control thing, but
Sure.
I mean, the comics are damn good.
Yeah, and I definitely think it is that branching path. It's like, oh, this can lead into this, which, oh man, I didn't know that this crossed over with whatever. Like, that's why a lot of the crossovers happen, is so that way you can get people from one book to another, kind of slide people around.
Yeah, no, totally. That is absolutely one of the marketing strategies that is effective. Legatus Vaith says this is perhaps the most embarrassing thing, but I'm old now and I barely have enough time to even read them all when I'm trying to. Hey, old, young, it don't even matter. That's a comics thing.
Yeah.
We buy so many books, and how many of us have? I mean, look, dude, how many of us have a stack of books that we're working through? Most people that I know who read comics are not up to date on everything they own. That is not a thing mostly.
Yeah, it's mine is a couple gigs worth. My stack isn't
Yeah.
measured in gigs.
Same.
Gage asks, how come the industry doesn't sell a book that acts as a catch-up book? So I love that, right? Like I think that is a really smart idea. I have been saying that I want that for longer than I've had a podcast to say it on. I don't understand why there isn't a book that's like, this is the book to read if you want to know generally what the story of Marvel is without having to buy every book. The reason they don't do that is probably because of what I just said, without having to buy every book. They want you to buy every book.
The,
Yeah.
the obtuseness is built into the plan.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a
Like
feature.
Yeah,
you can't inform in that way, because then the transparency there is, it's going to convert to dollars.
at least Marvel gives you recap pages.
Yeah, at least.
DC still won't do that. I'm wondering if like there was ever like a quarterly, like previews, maybe like a quarterly previews type thing with uh, quick synopses of what's going on in individual sections. Like that doesn't seem like the worst thing ever. Even put a price tag on it if you really wanted to. But like this is what's happening in the Ultimate books. This is what's happening in Spider-Man's land. Oh, that has an interesting ring to it.
That feels like those like anthology, or rather the collected editions. Like, you used to have a House of Secrets, which had a couple of stories in it, plus updates and stuff like that. Like,
I'm saying don't even put actual comics in it. Have it just be
just
recaps. Yeah, it's like, hey, this is where you go, and then like point people in the right direction. Pick this up. It comes out this date.
Like, yeah, I could see something like that working. It's it's hard to it's hard for us to work that out. Like, what would that look like in practice? Because it could be reprint pages, it could be like newly designed pages. There's so many ways that that could manifest, but I do think it would be an interesting thing to try. As far as I'm aware, it's never been done, and I would like to see it. I don't know though how that looks in practice. Chad Cowder says, "What would you think is the average weekly budget for a collector?" I feel like a person who is entrenched in comics probably doesn't escape their LCS without a $50 tag or more.
More nowadays.
And the average, yeah, because there are whales out there that bring that average up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There are people out there who literally buy every book.
Like $100 minimum is not, crazy, I feel
Yeah.
like. It's crazy, but for that class of person is not crazy.
yeah,
That's that gig
absolutely.
lifestyle, double income, no kids, just flew the coop already. I got some
Walking
money.
around.
Yeah.
Nah. Shub Patel says, "Yo, a PAL stream I can catch that almost never the case. What's going on, guys? What's going on to you?"
Hey, what's up? Happy to see you, dude. Glad you made it. Man, we get such good comments. I'm just scrolling through and we could do a whole show just responding to you guys. My God.
Atomic Hound with the 1999 super chat. Thank you so much, Hound. Happy New Year, pals. Love the discussion as always. Mrs. Hound has calculated her net worth would increase sevenfold if I end my comic habit. If I and my comic habit mysteriously disappeared.
Oh my
You're gonna have to
God,
check
dude.
in with us every day, Hound, just in case. Just do like a quick little hey, I'm here.
So, quick story. Thank you, Hound. One day I was at my comic shop and the person at my shop, there's a rewards program and they can see like all your data or whatever. So the person's like, "Hey, do you want to know like how much money you've spent here?"
Oh my God, what?
And I said, "Of course I do." And they told me the number and I about fucking fell over.
Dude, there's a site for Warcraft that you type in your username and it tells you how much money you spent on subs and everything. I do not need that for comics. I do not. It was like a couple
Yeah.
grand just for a video game that I've been playing for 20 years.
Yo, for I remember when I was doing, I was cataloging every issue that I was buying and the cost. I think for a given year, it came out to 1.2K in like 2018 when I was going weekly.
That's light for you and your time too of reading comics.
Yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
that's not even factoring in you going to like SPX, the travel
Oh yeah,
there, buying shit there. Like there's side things too.
that's right. Damn.
Marco's
Oh man.
recalibrating.
Mike Soto Dragon Channel says if the MCU phenomenon didn't grow comic sales, then nothing ever will. Well, that's quite pessimistic. I think that if you look at the sales of comics in 2011, they're pretty damn good.
The thing that so Mike's Total Dragon Channel also commented earlier on. My hot take opinion is the industry is cooked. The glory days of sales numbers like the 80s and 90s are gone and will not be back. I think that latter half of your sentence can be true without the first half being true.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. I think that I'm not saying this is you, but there seems to be a vested interest in the idea that the industry is dying. But guess what, Mike? Even in those years that you're referencing, people were still saying that. DC Comics was almost sold in the 70s.
And like that's every like even Dan mentioned it too. It's every medium now is down. That
Yeah.
there's people have smartphones, people have video games. There's so much so many things fighting for your attention that pie just has a lot more slices now and the slices are smaller.
Yep.
Yeah, comics can't compete in the same way, so it
Yeah.
becomes hard. And still, like, we have the industry continues to grow. We have seen that. We continue to see that, and so it's always an upward trajectory. It's always the end of it, right?
And I'm pretty sure, well, I can't say this with absolute knowledge, but I don't believe that the 90s were the heyday of comic sales. I believe the 90s were already, I mean, the industry almost collapsed in the 90s, but even the glory days of the 90s were not the glory days of comics.
The glory days of the 90s consisted of like high sales numbers for specific titles, but industry wide, it almost killed Marvel.
Yeah, the more entrenched in the LCS the comics industry became, and the further away it got from being available mass market, if mass market means the grocery store, the doctor's office, the blah blah blahs, the further away we got from high sales. So you are actually going back into the 70s and you're going back into the 60s and even the 50s when comics were selling routinely in the millions because guess what? They were cents.
Hmm.
It's a different world. It's not comparable at all. But we do have an industry that can still thrive. I don't think there's any reason we can't thrive, even if the numbers aren't going to look the way they used to.
It's just a rejiggering of our expectations.
Yeah,
Like it is
exactly.
Readjustment.
niche. Like comic book reading in floppies is niche, and that's okay.
Yeah,
It's expected. It's built into it. Um, yeah,
yeah.
a lot of people sharing budgets in chat, and I'm both proud and scared for some of them.
I love it. James says, I think getting comics back in places like Target and Walmart or the grocery stores would help boost sales. Okay, but let's talk about that in a realistic way, right? Let's not, I never like to do the Fantasyland thing. I like to do the realistic thing. Are you gonna sell three, four, five, 6.99 floppies in a grocery store? No, because that is too expensive for the person who walks by with their kid and their kid says, "Oh, daddy, I want this book." And the dad says, "Oh, wow, this is written by Jonathan Hickman. Holy shit, this is 8.99. Fuck you, son." That's what happens, right? They're not going to buy that.
You don't get the
People are too
cereal
yeah. People are too
or the
busy
comic.
worried about egg prices right now at the grocery store. That cash wrap ain't doing shit for anyone.
It's a different world. You're not going to pester your dad into buying you five comics that cost 3.99 a piece while he's in the grocery store knowing he's about to lose his fucking ass for everything that he just had to buy.
And then even like the Walmart example, you put those books next to full on novels that are, $10 paperbacks that are going to be in terms of time investment much more time for your bank, like for your money. And then the inverse is to do what DC did and make specific comics for those places. But then the comic book nerds leave the comic shop to go there and buy them all up.
Yeah,
And by the way, that didn't work.
It didn't.
That didn't work.
Great books,
They
quality wise, came out of it, but
they already tried it and it didn't work. And guess why? Because the price of the comic wasn't high enough to justify the shelf space, but it was too high to keep people from wanting to buy it. Who was going and buying those was collectors, douchebags. I never got one.
I never
yep,
got one either. I saw so many
agreed.
empty displays though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
I don't.
how many new readers did that create?
I would say practically none.
Yeah, not any in any meaningful way. And I was trying to work through the example you put there, Sean. With what if you also produced cheaper books, but then you're creating those books at a loss on the side of the publisher. You can distort bring the quality of paper down. You could maybe bring the quality of colors down and be able to produce something that is feasible to put out into a Dollar General, into your local supermarket, because it becomes cheaper to purchase. It goes from that 4.99, 3.99 to $1, $1.50, something like that. Um,
I think
but then the publisher runs into an issue where they don't aren't able to capitalize on it.
I think the closest we have is the DC compact books. Really?
Well, there is the Dollar General thing that
Oh yeah,
DC
the
is doing
pack.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they are I think they're a dollar and change, I believe. But they're all old books. They're not The weird thing about those is they're not overstock. They were printed
Yeah,
for this
yeah.
purpose,
Right.
but they're being sold on the cheap. I assume that DC is looking at it the way Marco just described, which is, hey, we're going to take this L, but hopefully it brings new people into the fold. Now, they're not new comics. They're old comics. In some cases, they're about a decade old or more. We'll see how that pans out.
I don't think the big two have any interest in catching somebody's attention in other places like grocery stores or whatever. I think the closest they have is trying to target their marketing towards people who are known to be collectors already. Like I think of what DC has been doing with their marketing for All In with wrestling fans and the tie-in books to the movies that are not tie-ins, but like tying the movies into established comics that are already out, like Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That is saying, all right, movie fans, wrestling fans, they have disposable income already. They're doing this. They have the money for extracurriculars. Let's shine a light on our comics and send them places. And they're not even like sending them to local comic book shops. So they're sending them to the idea of DC, more of an IP. But that's the most that they're gonna do, I think.
Hmm.
And we say it all the time. You know, it would be amazing to see a spinner rack at a movie theater after a movie or something like that.
I thought you were talking about the Pokemon.
That would be cool too. And you can literally pass the book, give them the thing that they would have maybe just seen, and like, look, this is what this could be. You saw it here. Here's it. Here's where the translation came from. You know, go potentially become a reader from there.
Shadow Walker says, my grocery store still sells magazines, so you can't sell comics either. Here's the deal. If you go to your grocery store and you see People magazine and you see, I don't know, Time magazine and the Gossip Rags and whatever else, those have way, way, way more broad appeal than
Mhm.
comics do.
And there's no alternative way of collecting those.
There's no alternative way of collecting them. They, again, like if you're a mom, maybe you want to read People magazine, maybe you want to read Time magazine. You're in that grocery store line, you're thinking about how much you hate yourself because you just dropped all this bread on bread, and you are like, you know what, let me read about the sad lives of others. And so you buy a Gossip Rag or you buy a People, whatever it is. There's a much broader appeal than comics in that case, and by the way, much more bang for your buck. Much, much more bang for your buck.
I mean, and the even then, the magazine side has suffered with post pandemic with digital. So even even that is somewhat of a dying market.
Yeah, I think that market's not growing. That thing's shrinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Jaws on U2B. I don't understand that name, but welcome. I've never seen you here before. Um, They say, sorry, my YouTube is lagging. They say onus on publishers. They should do everything to get non-comics readers to buy comics, but they don't. Why didn't we see this week's issue of Deadpool Wolverine in theaters when the movie came out? Well, because it wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're right. You are absolutely right that that is a practice that they should get into. I don't know the logistics of all of that. I think it would make a lot of sense to say, hey, you bought a ticket to see Deadpool and Wolverine. Before you go into the theater, here's a free comic. I think that would make a lot of sense.
Even if it's a digital comic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a code.
Yep.
QR code, scan it.
Freaking Pokemon movie was giving us free shit when we bought tickets to that.
Hell yeah, bro. What would it cost Marvel before the Captain America movie shows on screens uh here soon? What would it cost them to just put an ad up before the movie starts and say, "Hey, if you like superheroes, if you like these movies, here, scan this QR code and you can see the adventures of these characters continued in the comics." And if you do that, then you instantly get taken to a portal that leads you to the most recent Captain America Sam Wilson that has Cap and Red Hulk in it.
If only they had a way to keep the audience's attention with screens full of text like they're waiting for something. Oh wait,
If only you had the space.
if only
Yo,
they just put it at the fucking credits. That
burn
way they
it
don't have
into
their
the
phones
movie.
out the entire movie if it's at the beginning, and they're gonna be there anyway. The ones that care about it are gonna be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what if Captain America came on the screen and he sits down in his chair, like he did at the end of
Oh,
Spider-Man, and he
yeah.
says, "So you like comics?" And he gives you the spiel. Like that would do more good for the industry than anything else.
Too big thinking. Too big thinking. Can't do it.
And my critiques here. Thank you for the £5. I always get those icons mixed up. It looks like
Yes.
Pokebucks to me. Do you think James Gunn and his DCU will impact the industry this year? I read Woman of Tomorrow because of the film of the same name with All Star and All Seasons. I think TBD.
Hmm.
I think we only just started Superman's real marketing campaign, but from the way James Gunn has talked and the initial DCU slate video that he put out, I think signs point to possibly. I think if I could easily see right during the trailers or whatever for Superman pointing you to certain things
Yeah.
and
Mm,
social media campaigns. I could see James Gunn doing it himself and going rogue and just doing it in his social media, if anything. But I
that's what,
think they have a want there. They just launched their own podcast, DC, which is probably going to be doing a lot of this work. It's on YouTube. Thanks for stealing our audience. Sorry, we're a Marvel podcast. Um, and I think we'll see. I really hope so, though.
yeah. I was gonna say the biggest thing that Gunn has done is just uh you know good good word of mouth, and that's led to books being sold out. But now comes the work of the actual film, the work of the marketing team, not just okay, hey, I said that I'm going to be doing a movie off of this, so people have to go buy it. Now it's how do you bring people into the current stories? And yeah, if it's not a QR code, it's a dude outside just handing you maybe a pin even. Like there's so many like small things that also lead to collecting that would be fun to have and be a benefit to anybody trying to come in after the movie.
Yeah, I think anybody with eyes can see that that is a smart play. However you do it, whatever the method is, getting people into the fold by advertising to them where they live is effective. Legatus Vaith said the biggest boon to comics this year is likely going to be the Marvel Rivals video game. Well, look at the popping of Jeff. Look at how big Jeff is getting. If only 1% of people who play Marvel Rivals and love Jeff or love Wolverine or whoever the fuck says, "You know what? Wow, this is so cool. I want to see more of these characters. Wow, there's no movie based on Jeff. Well, where's Jeff from? The comics? Oh, let me check that out." If 1% of people does that, that is a big number for an industry that's not that big. It's niche. So if 1% of players of Marvel Rivals that probably has a player base of over 1 million people right now, that's a lot. We could use that.
And at the very least, you're spreading word, right? You're actually doing the thing that you need to there. Like, make it while you're waiting. Make it an email campaign because now you have these people's emails that you registered with, right? So you can do things on different fronts. It can be in game, it could be in your life, and then from there, yeah, hopefully that translates to somebody downloading an Infinity comic.
They already started. Like, I just checked Steam right now. There is, right now on Steam, so this is PC, there's 270,000 concurrent players.
Wow.
Just PC. That doesn't even factor in console. There is currently a Marvel Unlimited promotion that is on you get mail in game. It tells you about it. It's like, hey, if you sign up for Marvel Infinity or Marvel Unlimited, you get this special Jeff spray, specifically of Jeff spray too.
Nice.
And
Whoa.
people love DLC. People love
Yeah.
cosmetics, and like
That's
that's
great.
smart. That's really smart.
I love that. I love that.
And if they start doing, Marvel Comics, you buy a comic, say free comic book day, comes with a code that you type into a game like Marvel Rivals. But even like
Yeah.
Snap is a thing, which we'll talk about later. um, Puzzle Quest is a thing as well, and there's that future fight. So there's an ecosystem of Marvel games too that are live service games.
So We are not done with this topic. I'm loving the viewership right now. I'm loving the comments. You guys are killing the comments section right now. So many smart people, so many interesting things you guys are throwing out there. I want to remind you that super chats are open. Thanks to Mike Retiques, thanks to Atomic Hound for holding us down. If you want to support us, that is the way to do it. Considering that this channel has no sponsorship, we are sponsored by you, beautiful people. We're gonna do our our New Year's resolutions in comics a little bit later. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. The show is far from over. I want to take a quick moment to say, smash the like button because
Smash.
we need the likes. We're gonna spin the wheel a little bit later if we hit our likes goal. I don't know what the likes are at right now. I'll set the likes goal at 50, see how we do. Um, but I want to take a quick moment to say thank you to some of our patrons. So stick with us. I'm going to get to that real quick. Special shout out to our Pals vs. Legends, Thunderstruck Rebecca Alejandro, the Hound of Justice, Atomic Hound, who was in the chat, Starcross Catherine Stars, the Red Spiral Spiral Storm, Adam and Bernie the Best Boy, and the Spear of Judgment, Jay's Jumble. And I also want to thank Pals vs. members, the Night Stalker, Harris Dajinski, Brian Demolisher Del Pozo, Kefis the Incorruptible, Momentum Mike Elliott, Dan the Truth Trudeau, who was in the chat, Marley Manastorm, Slow Flow Dameron, Christian Uncaged, Always Laughing, the Spear of Justice, Izzy Spears, who was in the chat, the Great Destroyer, Hyper Viper 89, Robert Runback, Casterback, Pete the Dream River Collins, Matthew Malice Price, who was in the chat, and James Just Jamming Jones, who was in the chat. If you didn't hear your name, we will get to it a little bit later on. Let's keep the conversation rolling. I want to hit a few more comments and then transition to another arm of this discussion. Chris Lister says, why not imitate the book industry? Instead of having to pay $5 for 20 pages each month, have a new Spider-Man, Batman, etc. 200-page graphic novel with a complete story once or twice a year and have a release party. Well, there are a lot of reasons why I don't think the industry does that. There are people, maybe even on this podcast, who think that's the way forward. I don't. I think that would kill the comics industry, at least as it relates to the direct market. You can't understand or underestimate how important it is to DC that they can sell you multiple Batman books at a time, all the time.
Nope.
And if they could only do that once or twice a year, their sales would take a nosedive. They don't, DC does not exist if they cannot sell you a new Batman book every week. They don't.
It's not a ski resort where they have an on season, you know.
Yeah.
Always
They
on
need to
season.
be able to do that every single week. And if they can't, the sales of Batgirl, the sales of Birds of Prey, the sales of Nightwing are not propping things up. That's not how it works. The industry is very top heavy. The sales of Batman allow the existence of what's on the bottom end. They can't
Uh,
not do that.
yeah, it's very similar to like a European model. I think the difference for a European model is those are individual writers and artists a lot of the time. So, you're not backed by a corporation, one that needs to be entrenched in the week to week of comics, let alone the month to month. And if you're going to be doing a graphic novel every couple, that means that's a forward that you're putting up for an artist, for a writer. You're not seeing returns on that as immediately. So there's a lot of risk involved as well from the business side, from the publisher.
Not to mention that would just kill jobs in the creative side of comics, the big two. There's only
Yeah.
these big ones happening. Then you got your Hickman book every quarter,
Right.
Yeah.
and then like floppy comics and single issues also has a benefit to the companies like Marvel and DC in so much that it is an IP farm. There is, there's a reason why Spider Boy is so popular right now with comics outside of the Comics Pals. It's because they put it out, they gave it a shot, and it hit. And now he has an action figure coming out. He has a book coming out. So this is ideas because it's not just comics to them. It's toys. It's collectibles. It's T-shirts. It's movies. It's cartoons. There's a bigger stake there than just the comics. So they need to be able to put these things out constantly to be able to test things.
And I think also that lack of frequency or the extended time in between frequency. We have some proof test cases with something like Saga, which took a 3 year break, would take month to 2 month long breaks. A number of Image comics tend to not finish or over an extended period of time finish, and so lose traction and lose heat and lose readership. So there's also the risk of that. We're so ingrained as a comics collecting week to week culture that you're good. That's a hard disruption to an otherwise habitual process.
Hmm.
Dan makes a good point. The European model kind of exists here just in the kids and YA graphic novel series.
And
Yeah.
and a lot of the time, those are individual creators who are trying to
Yep.
do their thing. Raina Telgemeier, you have your Dan Pilkey, Matt
The
Lukes, who if
goat Dan
anybody,
Pilkey.
yeah, oh Dave
Dave
Pilkey,
Pilkey. Dave Pilkey. Yeah.
Yeah. And I keep seeing people talking about the French market and European market. I mean, it's not the same thing. You can't just, it's the way people say, "Oh, well, why don't they just go to the mango way?" You cannot just take a concept from another country and transplant it here when we have a baked-in readership with a baked-in understanding of the way comics work. You cannot just all of our minds aren't going to just shift and go, "Wait, this is the way it's published in Europe?" Oh my God. Okay. Yes. Yes. That's not how people work, dude.
Goosebumps might work in the U.S. You shove that shit in Japan, it probably won't work the same. You know.
It's just not, you cannot just, it's not comparable.
but this is America.
You're goddamn right.
We could fit a couple Frances in America.
Yeah. Come on now. Um, yeah. So I think that we've talked a lot about some of the bigger picture issues that comics core faces, and I think I wanted to talk about events and how they should avoid doing events for the absolute universe and the ultimate universe. That's blown because we know there's an ultimate universe event coming this year, which is okay. It's not the end of the world, but I just don't want them to get stuck in the hamster wheel of events because that is not the way. But what I really want to talk about, what I think is the biggest threat the industry faces this year, more than anything that the publishers are going to be actually publishing, is tariffs.
Oh, oh, bum bum bum.
Got to
I
use some
think
Eric
that there is
Larson.
a massive danger of how tariffs are going to affect the comics industry. Now, there's no guarantee that they're going to happen, but our impending overlord has made it pretty clear that this is what he intends to do. And if that happens, we're in a bad way. So let me take a moment to explain what we're talking about for those who might be unfamiliar. Um, Tariffs are basically an additional tax on importing and exporting. Now, the America as an industry imports a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that comes in via import. And people think that when we are putting these tariffs, that the country the stuff's coming from is who's paying the extra fee. That's not the case. It's actually us. So how does that affect comics? Well, most comics, floppies, are produced in Canada. And that's where we're getting, that's what they're doing all the production work and they ship it over here, and that's how it works. We will have to pay, and by we I mean the publishers will have to pay additional money to have that stuff brought into the country. And that will always, 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 always trickle down on the consumer.
If
Yep.
there was earlier talk about like dropping paper quality and to make comics cheaper, if that happens, we're going to be at the same price comics, just poor quality, to make
Yeah.
up for stuff like this. So yes, I can see the quality going down, maybe even pages coming down as well. But the price ain't going to change if this happens.
It
If
can't
anything, it
change.
goes up.
Right. Yeah. It literally can't change. It has to be an effect to price or an effect to the product. There's no two ways about it if you're increasing some kind of cost on the side.
And this is publishing wide. It's everything wide, honestly. But I think publishing is specifically going to get hurt by this. Books, anything really that has to do with paper.
And it's the consideration between getting an extra book or not. We had an earlier conversation on the volume of comics that you might be purchasing, but this is enough that over the course of, let's say it's $1, right? You buy typically 6 books. You can't. You could buy 5 because the other one, the cost of increase goes into that 6th book.
Yeah,
And I think
absolutely.
the thing is like, all right, we can shift production to the U.S. More jobs, right? We don't have to pay those tariffs, right? But that's not logical. We don't have the infrastructure for it. You can't just make that happen. And we don't have the resources for it. There's a reason it's done in Canada. They got over there trees, lots of them.
Yeah,
You know
don't
what
the
we have
American
here?
ones,
Strip malls and parking lots.
the American ones, I think import the wood even to some
Yeah,
degree. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Somewhere in the food chain cycle, it's gonna be hit with tariffs.
And Matthew Price says, most people will not link the increase in price to the government. By that virtue, the tariff, it will be blamed to the publisher. Like they're the ones that are going to take the heat for that.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully they get their messaging right when they start having to raise those prices. But I needed to know, what are people outside of the comic space saying about tariffs? I don't watch CNN or Fox or whatever the hell, so I went to NPR and I
Ooh,
needed to see like what are they saying, and so there was this great article that has some business people just kind of like talking about this. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So, um, here's someone saying to companies in the import business, tariffs look very different. Bobby Dajohari's Los Angeles-based company, Yeti Houseware Appliances, sells air fryers and waffle irons, mostly made in China. Dajahari says if Trump makes good on his threat to slap a 60% tax on Chinese imports, he'll be the one getting the bill. Dajahari follows up. These tariffs are paid for by us, not by the Chinese, by us. Horsley says, Dajahari says that would raise the price of a $130 air fryer to $200 or more. Najahari follows up. I'm taking it very seriously. We're trying to ramp up our imports prior to President elect getting sworn in, and then we'll go from there. Ramp up our imports. Horsley follows up saying other importers are racing to stockpile products before tariffs kicks in, but that doesn't work for everyone. No, it does not work for everyone. Comic books operate on a weekly publishing schedule. They cannot they can't front the publishing of comics that won't be ready for 6 months. They cannot do that.
But surely wages will go up to be able to meet the cost of goods now, right?
Oh yeah.
surely.
Oh, Matt Fisher with a $49.99 bomb. Thank you, Matt Fisher, so much. Happy New Year. That's one way to kick things off. Hello, 2025, Comics Pals. I hope you know that Sean knows that Gina Carano's Haywire was an Oscar-worthy movie. Forget Fruity Pebbles, you need Bootios. A 9-hour compilation halfway through. Tom King's Wonder Woman is not that bad. Take my money, long live the Atom. Matt
Hell
Fisher,
yeah.
love you, brother. Thank
I,
you so much. First of all, I appreciate the bomb. Second of all, I appreciate the laugh. How do you know that I have a connection to Gina Carano's Haywire?
I think you've mentioned this on the show before,
Okay.
and maybe he might be going through the backlog there. I like how Matt
Wow.
can just he just throws everything in a super chat.
Love it.
It's like a trail mix.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Matt. Joe says tariffs are mostly a negotiation tactic. It helps open the conversations to get things going. I'm not as optimistic as you. Uh, I don't want to assume that this won't happen. I don't think anybody should assume this doesn't happen. You know who's taking our impending overlord very seriously? Business owners.
Yeah.
They're taking those words very seriously. And if it's a tactic, it's a scummy one for American businesses. And I'm just going to keep things comics. But we don't need this shit. We don't. This is an industry that's trying to rise up. And we just had an hour conversation about bringing more people into the fold. We cannot accept things getting more expensive. 4.99 is already like the baseline. That's like the average price comic. It can't get more expensive than that.
I mean, Marvel could always just shift the cost of Hickman comic down to 4.99, and I think that would balance things out.
Offset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they gotta get that dual tax, man.
Oof, a Hickman comic's gonna be $15.
Yo, for a 25 pager.
Marcel the loser, change your name, dude. Marcel the winner. Come on now. Says these tariffs sound like all the more reason a solid digital platform strategy should be being worked on. But I mean, but what do you do, dude? Realistically, let's be real. Marvel and DC don't play ball, and they're not going to financially share in a streaming service. That's not going to happen. So what do you do?
The industry is too small to support a shared service like that. Like everyone needs the individual sales. There isn't enough volume. It would be amazing for the reader because you have such a volume of work, but it's so stratified between companies that that doesn't become worth it for the individual company. So you can't separate that way. And so because of that, you can't have a singular digital platform. Um,
You could have
and
them per publisher.
yeah, yeah. I mean, at that point, you would want it per publisher.
Yeah,
That's what they're trying to do with
but
the DC apps,
that's the same issue we're having with streaming platforms, though. You got to go to
right?
all these different streaming platforms, and the money you're spending winds up being about the same you would have spent without the streaming
Yeah,
platforms. Yeah,
right. Because you have the just to get the volume that you have to tap into all of that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think right now from that digital perspective, the global comics has been referenced here and there a couple times. Like that's a close analogy to being able to do those things.
Yeah, it's this is a very frustrating situation.
And the other issue too is that if they do use this as an opportunity to kind of focus more on the digital comics, that's just the death knell for local comic book shops.
Yep.
Because the only other thing they could do more for digital comics is make the subscription part or like close that gap between a new release and Marvel going on Marvel Unlimited. The closer that the smaller that gap becomes, I think it's Marvel. It's like 3 months right now.
Something like that.
If that becomes 2 months, if that becomes 1 month, that'll kill comics, local comic book shops.
But we know that there are different audiences. So uh, by virtue of that, we also know that that means that it won't have the same kind of impact. It'll be for the digital reader.
I'm saying if Marvel and DC decide to focus on that more because print doesn't work for them because it's too expensive.
Mm,
If as soon as they start seeing that it's not worth it, they're going to shift, and that'll start
yeah.
a domino effect.
Comic book videos and essays says, I can't stress how serious the threat of tariffs are here in Canada. Lumber, which includes paper, prices will skyrocket in America and cost Canadian jobs because less will be sold. Thank you for the Canadian perspective. I appreciate it. And I know we've got other Canadians that listen to this show. I would love for you guys to chime in. I mean, it's no joke, dude. It's no joke, and it's nothing to be underestimated at all. I think that um, comic books can't afford this, and the readership can't afford it. We are already willingly um paying a premium to read comics anymore. We know that, but we do it happily because we love the industry so much. But at some point, you know, people have to say, wait a second, I can't do this. I've got kids to feed, I've got a mortgage, I've got a car note, whatever I have, I've got to drop comics. I can't do it. And if your pull list goes from 10 books a week to five because the tariffs increase the price of comics to the point where you've got to make choices, who hurts? Who hurts? The industry hurts. The LCS hurts because the LCS isn't making more money. It's all relative. If comics go from average price 4.99 to average price, let's say for argument's sake 6.99, That's not because everybody's getting more of the pie. That's because the price went up. So if the price goes up, but they sell less, guess what? They're making less money. That's bad.
And prices are going up even without tariffs
Yeah.
because there needs to be continuous growth in terms of profit margins.
Well, I feel like that's the biggest thing is there needs to be continuous growth, and right, and so that way you have to try to inflate the numbers
There doesn't need to
where
be.
it doesn't need to be,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't need to, but the mandate from shareholders, from the higher ups there, from the corporate end, is to maximize that. And so right now, the looming threat is to at what point do we hit the uh, where the number of people buying at a certain price point begin to dip, right? Like right now, you raise the price, you're raising your sales because enough people are buying. But at the 6.99, at the 7.99, the 8.99, is that where that's the actual drop off? That's the cutoff point. That is at that point, it doesn't matter what you do, you have to purely get more people into the fold. And when we hit that, that's a collapse.
Joe says so Canada can raise tariffs on their products, but it's Trump's fault. Canada hates their prime minister for picking a fight with America. Look, dude, I don't know where you're getting your information from. This isn't a political podcast. I'm not going to debate about presidents and all that stuff, but that is incorrect. You're not that's not true. It's us imposing the tariffs. That's how that's working. It's not Canada. This isn't again, it's I said China, I said Canada. This is imports to the United States, not from. This is being imposed upon these other countries and we will pay the price. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. It's not political. This isn't about who your daddy is. This is about what is going to happen to us. What the realities of political decisions are, policy decisions and how they affect the everyday person and business in this country. And in particular the comics business.
And he follows up with Trump ain't in office yet, so this is a knee jerk reaction. They don't have the ability to gamble on this. Most businesses can't say, well, we'll see what happens. He's saying he's going to do these tariffs. They have to, for their business, take him at his word.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how can you say, "Oh, he's not in office yet, so this is an overreaction"? He said it. What the fuck? He said it. He said, "This is what I'm
Continues
going
to
to
say
do."
it.
This isn't like a supposition. This is what he said. We're going based on what he said he's going to do, and that sucks for comics. That's the point. I don't understand what's being lost in translation. Matt Fisher, though, with another 49.99. Man, you are the man, bro. Look, I don't like mixing comics and Republicans, but why are we surprised? America voted for men who, everything else aside, said he was going to put tariffs in place. On another note, one Adam is Ray Palmer, the other Adam is his student, Ryan Choi.
Look at this guy dropping knowledge and spitting facts.
Love it. Yeah, and again, this isn't about politics, dude. I don't give a shit about all that. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about what someone said they're gonna do. It's just about that.
It's an econ thing, really.
Yeah. This isn't I'm not hating on anybody. I'm not telling you who you should have voted for. I'm just saying that economically, this could have a bad impact on the industry. That's
Yep.
all.
Yep. And you as a business have to react to what that future potentially looks like.
Yeah. And it would be catastrophic for us. And so let me ask you guys, real talk. If the price of comics goes up, how do you move? How does that change your habits?
I always try to keep a little bit of budget for a new number one that's coming out that week, like a little bit, maybe $5, right? Can I spend that? Sure. Can I try it out? Sure. If it's there that week, if not, I save $5 in a book. But I think that's the biggest thing is if that were to increase, the maybe I do it once every other week, maybe a couple times a month. It doesn't become I have to look for it for that week. I can think about it. Oh, actually, this was a heavy week. Maybe let me not do that.
Right.
It's tricky because we're all in a specific place where we do this for a show, so there is like a necessity for a lot of it. But Like, there's a lot of number ones to read for the show that I continue reading, even though we don't talk about it on the show. I'm reading pretty much most of the X-Men books, but like we don't really talk about much of them. I think that kind of stuff would have to be gone for me.
Yeah.
There would be like a lot of number ones that I read and like, okay, cool, that was interesting. Um, I think one of my favorite things this past year is the Compact Comics, and I think that'll be gone if that's the case. That's already at a
Mm,
loss.
Mm.
that's a good
Um,
Mm.
point.
that'll be hobbled at their knees at that point. So that'd be a bummer, honestly. Um, and I mean, I go digital, so like space isn't really an issue, but the price of digital going up just always leaves a sour taste in my mouth.
Ah, I hate that shit. And it is. It will
It
undoubtedly
will.
because it
It'll
has to
match.
match the
Yeah.
price. Yeah. It's so dumb.
And if it doesn't, that also kills the local comic shop.
Right.
Yep. I mean, I would have to move differently. I get a lot of joy out of being able to, not have to curate my, my stack, my pull list so much, that I'm not leaving stuff on the shelves that I really want to read. I think look, if this is a real talk, every dollar that comics go up, the amount of piracy goes up.
Mm,
People aren't gonna say, "Oh, I'm gonna drop 40% of my pull list and just never read those comics again," because they don't have to. Every single person here knows where they can go to read comics for free if they want to. It's a decision you make to spend money on comics because it's not just that you want to read them, right? Tyler says, I want to read Wonder Woman. It's not just that Tyler wants to read it. Tyler wants to support. Tyler wants to be a part of the industry, of the community. And part of that is buying the comic.
I need to be able to talk about that book because nobody else wants to on the show.
But you could just as easily do that by pirating it. You don't have
Sure.
to buy it to read it.
yeah.
And there are people who care less than you, who, when their money isn't up and the price goes up, are simply going to say, well, I want to read Wonder Woman. I don't give a fuck how I do it.
Yeah, I can go hang out with Adrian Dittman on 4chan. Oh, that's an Elon Musk thing. Never mind. All right, out of the loop. Cool.
But you're right. I think to the piracy end, and you don't necessarily lose people to comics. You lose how they're counted, right? So you lose like a data point. You lose a sale, and that's another thing that you further obfuscate the industry, and that's hard because we need to get a better accurate representation of what that looks like.
Yeah. Kyle says, I work with a lot of overseas manufacturers and they have been talking about raising prices for months. There's no real alternative because moving jobs back to the US is just too expensive. You either pay higher prices from your overseas manufacturers or you pay even higher prices from US based options who also raise their prices just to move with the market. It's brutal, dude. And everything but our wages is going up and up and up. And if people are complaining about the price of eggs, what are they saying about the price of comics?
Well, Nier says, I'm going back to trade waiting and digital. Buying single issues at the LCS was a novelty and a luxury for me, but not cost effective. Certainly doesn't help with the tariffs. I mean, that's what it is, right? The comics are almost kind of like a luxury product because they're a small amount of entertainment for a pretty high cost. You have to have disposable income to go get it. To go get it at the frequency that you have to keep up with the stories that are being told in it.
But even shifting to that model, like going to picking up like collected versions, that's still going to get hurt by tariffs. Like that's going to be expensive as well.
Oh,
But
dude. And those are coming, I believe when we talked about this, those are coming from China, the collected
Yep, even
editions.
more.
the
So
books, yeah.
their tariff is higher than the Canadian one, if I'm understanding this whole gimmick correctly. 60%. So your beloved collected editions are going to be a lot more expensive. I'm not saying they're going to be 60% more expensive, but they are going to be noticeably more expensive, and that's going to hit your wallet, dude. They're not going to let the price of floppies go up and not raise the price of trades and everything else commiserate, mostly because they can't.
The China tariff would be 60, and I think Canada and Mexico are getting hit with a 30%.
Brutal.
30%. Well, how much is a collected edition?
I mean, it runs the gamut, but your typical Marvel trade now that's new. I think the number I've seen is 25 to $30.
I saw a distillery hardcover for $30 but that's like 4 or 5 issues.
Dang.
Well, that's a bargain for distillery
And Barnes
because
Noble had a 50% off, so I got that for 15. But yeah,
Nice.
distillery singles are like 8.99, 9.99.
yeah.
So
So
Ten
that's a
bucks usually.
specific thing. Yeah.
oh, brutal, man, brutal. This and it's a bummer because I look at the chat and I see so many people saying, I'm just gonna trade Wade, I'm just gonna go digital, and it's like I don't want that, like that's not where we need to go, and there's nothing you can do if that's your financial reality. It is what it is, but it's like we need us, we need us. We need us. We need the Wednesday Warriors for this industry to thrive, for the conversations to keep going, for us to be happy. We need us.
Kazum says that I'm European, so it probably wouldn't even hit me. It still would in terms of what is being made. That changes if
Oh,
they
sure.
can't publish things.
Right, right.
The 13 Batman books becomes 5. So your options will be limited.
like whatever gets made from the things that are being tariffed. Yeah.
Cole says, I'm not overly concerned because it's not in place yet. Seems like high stakes and hardball negotiations. And Trudeau has been talking to Trump. We'll see how it all plays out. But what if you were a business owner? You can't run a business on what if and maybe and shit, like you can't do that. And as fans of an industry that we deeply care about, it's worth having that conversation. There's no doubt that it's worth having. Nothing would please me more than for us to be a year from now and say, "Oh, remember when we were worried about tariffs? Good thing that didn't happen." But, like that would be great, but that's not a guarantee. And the
Yeah.
man said, "This is what I'm going to do."
They won.
What like my question is, when is it that we're supposed to believe what a person says and when is it that we're not?
Because you don't want to be caught with your pants down. You don't want to be caught slow to the draw of, well, shit, I should have done prepared for this and costed this out months ago.
Yeah. Uh Joe asks, could comics seek more outside advertising to help keep the price down? So I've always wondered, like, because when I started reading comics, there were all manner of ads in them for Skechers and different things, and they don't really do that anymore, and I wonder why. Um, I believe what I've heard is that there's just not a lot of money in it. Like people aren't coming to put ads in the books. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's a fact.
Yeah, because I remember when I was at one of my other agencies, there used to be a DC and Marvel Comics rep. Like he would come over and he would negotiate cost prices with you about certain placements of the book, like in the book, the front, back, the whatever, whatever. Um, but seemingly that has stopped. Like up to a certain point, maybe like 2019. I feel like I didn't have a rep like that anymore. So I don't know where that market went.
And those ads cost pages.
That too, but it's the cost of the pay is the cost of the advertisement
Yeah.
worth the cost of that page.
Yeah. And how do you even track how worthwhile that is?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's mostly an awareness play. So it's a company also that has to be comfortable with, oh, I'm just throwing money at this.
Oh man. Robert Frank says the U.S. saw record inflation under Biden. Trump has been president, and under his term, I had far more money for comics. Look, dude, you guys seem to insist on making this about a red or a blue thing. I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, don't give a fuck about any of that. You don't know me personally. You guys are not in my real life. I truly do not give a fuck. I am talking about what the man said. That is it. And trying to look at how that will affect comics. If that is hard to understand, I don't know what to tell you. Our brains don't work the same. It's a flat conversation. That's it. It's all I'm interested in.
Be irresponsible not to talk about it.
Exactly. That's all we're doing here. Uh, but in any event, my hope, my biggest hope is that we can have a thriving comics industry in 2025. Part of that is on the publishers to make good on the goodwill that they have developed throughout 2024. Because 2024 was objectively a great year. They've got to do the right things by us. They've got to continue to keep these micro lines small, and DC in particular, keep delivering the goods, man. All in, tremendous initiative that did a lot of work. Marvel, stop the bullshit. Keep the blood hunts and the red bands and all that out of the equation. Speaking of red band, I can't wait for Wolverine Revenge Red Band issue 4. But after that, I'm done with red band.
For sure, 100%, 1,000. I'm off it. I'm off it. I swear.
What if there's
Dude,
Marvel versus Godzilla Red Band?
that's I don't even want Marvel versus Godzilla regular. Fuck a red band. So the point is that they've got to do the right things by us, and then these tariffs have to not happen, and that's nobody in the industry's fault. That's just how things go, because we can throw Marvel and DC to the side. What about Boom?
Oof. Yeah.
What about Dark Horse?
Dynamite.
What's the cost of a distillery comic in a tariff world?
That Valiant relaunch ain't gonna last long.
Yo. Yeah. And I think because of that, does that mean that you get more creators that can't enter the industry, that can't diversify their portfolio because now they're locked into doing the Marvel or Image or whatever book that they have to?
I think that's even more disturbing is what happens to all the other publishers. That worries me tremendously.
Joe says, I need more coin for my Hickman tax. Don't we all?
We all do, yeah. Imperial
Yeah,
coming
for
out
real.
next year too. Jeez.
Yeah. They really said 2024, you guys ate good. Now we're charging for that food. That extra sauce, we're charging for that shit.
First hit was free.
Yeah, yeah.
Munster Design says, big up to the pals. Can't wait to watch this back. Still only about a quarter through the 9-hour New 52 discussion. Thank you, Munster. That's so
Damn.
cool. We put that up yesterday, and in my mind, I'm like, dude, who the fuck is going to sit here and watch 9 hours of it, right?
Bro, the first
But people
comment.
do it.
I forgot.
Yeah.
I forgot. I cut that.
I think I
Peop-
cut that, no?
Yeah, Marco.
Was
cut
it
that.
okay? Good. Then I did forget.
People do it, and you guys are so real for that. You really, really, really are so real for it. I love it.
I forgot who the first person was, but it was, 9 hours? Lock it in.
Hell yeah. Matt McDonald said, honestly, all these solo X-Men books this coming year so far, and all those variants, keep it small, Marvel. The one thing Marvel has never known how to do is keep it small.
Yeah.
Marvel
Make,
goes big.
make mine Marvel Mini.
Definitely growers, not showers.
I think they're showers. They start big. Marvel
Yeah, that's
doesn't.
fair.
Marvel's
Yeah.
never been small. Never, not once.
Near says week 1, 20 plus comic book stack. Week 2, ice cube soup.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wow. We're at 68 likes.
Oh, all right. So why don't we make the like goal
Give me one more.
80?
Oh,
Let's make it 80. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all the support. I want to shout out Matt Fisher big time. Matt Fisher, the man, for the super chat love. Joe says, if someone watches 9 hours of that video, does that make more money or do better for your channel compared to a short video? Joe, yes. Thank you for asking. Somebody watching a 9-hour video of ours does gangbusters for us. The longer you engage with our channel, the more of anything of ours you watch, the more we benefit. So yes, absolutely.
watch time is definitely an important metric.
Yeah.
That also makes you a real one.
Hell yeah. Kyle giving us the 69th like. Thank you.
Hell yeah.
Thank you. TFBTJ says blanket tariffs don't help the economy or the industry. It hurts the consumers. I hope people understand that. And that's literally all I was here to say. That's all I was here to say. If if a Democrat were to impose similar concepts, I would be upset. I don't care the color that of the suit the person wears. I'm not into all that shit. I think all of them suck. I only care about the policy, and the policy is ass if it happens. That's all I'm here to say.
Monster Design says, I've never even read the New 52 stuff, just got the Court of Owls compact. Seems like an interesting time in comics for sure. Well, if you have the Court of Owls, enjoy. That's good stuff. And if you want to learn more about like the history of that, that's exactly the video for you.
Hell yeah. And hey, I hope it inspires you to check out some of the new 52 books because one of the things that was important for me to say was I think that there are some books that people missed during the new 52, like Captain Atom. That was really great. I think there are some gems in there, and the first couple of years were pretty strong.
See, Sean, you're well versed in Captain Atom. You've read his New 52 run.
I don't even know how representative of the character that is. I have
Sure.
no clue.
Yeah.
That's the weird part about the new 52.
One contact point. Yeah.
Yeah. And Jenny Sparks.
It's like that, and then also the Justice League animated show, and then like what before DC Comics was the thing. Like there's a huge gap I feel in between.
No, I mean he was a popular character.
When people
The
were still getting
70s, the 80s.
egg creams at the malt shop.
Gotta melt some stuff down. Kyle says I got about 3 hours so far, making my YouTube Premium do work for you guys.
Hell yeah. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Comic book videos and essays says, as an old school Animal Man fan, I was hesitant about the new 52 series, but it was great. You're damn right it was. That was my first intro to Swamp Thing as well. Both of those characters.
Mm,
And man, were they great.
that crossover they had.
Rot World.
Rot World, yeah. Frankenstein. Did you end up reading the Frankenstein stuff at all?
I didn't.
No.
Good stuff.
Okay.
It's good.
It was good. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
I love the Frankenstein stuff. I think that was also my introduction to like art that is similar to Travel Foreman. It was Travel Foreman's Animal Man, and that kind of opened my eyes to like what art could be in a superhero comic.
Yannick Paquette on Swamp Thing.
Yeah, wildly different two artists to be in a tie-in together.
Yeah.
TFBTJ says, has anyone read Identity Crisis? Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like it's not cool to say you like it anymore for some reason, but I love Identity Crisis. It's become one of those books that people like approach more morally than like whether it's good or not. I have no moral thoughts on the book. I think everything that happens within the confines of a comic is fine if there's story, and there was story, so I love it.
I'm a bit of a identity crisis apologist myself. There are things that you could point to that are a little like ooh, uh, but on the whole, I do enjoy that book.
Yeah. Stoops. What's up, Stoops? Haven't seen you around before that I could recall. A lot of comics and characters will never be created again because people already barely take chances on unknown or new things. So publishing will take less risks. Well, you know how I know you're right, Stoops. You're right because if you look at the movies that get made in this world, how many of them are number twos, number threes, reboots? They're all sequels and shit, right? It's like if you want something original, you got to go to the horror space because it's like nobody's producing original shit.
No new musicals
Even
even.
even the MCU, we got Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans coming back. Like,
What?
come on.
There's nothing new under the sun, my boy. And it's sad. Um, Atomic Hound says, join the Pals Discord. We talk comics with fans on many continents and it goes to 24/7. Couldn't agree more. Thank you for saying that, Atomic Hound. I love anybody who decides to join our Discord server. We've got over 320 people on it, and I would love to increase that by at least 100 this year. That's my Discord goal for 25.
My goal is to be a bigger Discord than the Marvel Rivals Discord. Let's
Oh
do that.
no, even I don't want that.
We might have to deputize a Hound there then.
Not just Hal. We're gonna have to deputize quite a few people. Amin, we need to get him on the horn.
Me.
You?
Me.
You have the most power in the Discord.
Deputize me. I need to become a deputy.
Oh no,
No.
not the LCS.
Oh, is that not? Oh, damn.
No,
okay.
you will not be you will not be
Deputized.
deputized. Hey, aggressively relaxing. Can you shut the fuck up? That's so gracious of our host to say the output of all the different creators at DC during New 52 put out a handful of things that aren't crap. Talking about numerous people's art like this is so cool. You are the most annoying person I have ever had the displeasure of interacting with, and I'm gonna block you because you provide nothing of value to any conversation at any time. And anytime I have ever seen your name in any chat on YouTube, it has been to say nonsense. So,
Talking smack.
yeah, thank you. Now that I've aired you out because you wanted your 5 seconds of attention, because clearly nobody pays attention to you in your life, I will move forward. We've got other stuff to do. We've got business to take care of. So, I want to say patreon.com/thecomicspals is the best way to support the show if you are so inclined to do that. We've had a lot of people jump on last year. Thank you for all of you who did that. And I'd like to see that continue this year. We are offering not just the ability to get a nickname and a shout out on the show, which you guys heard, but you also get to vote in the book club poll. We announced on Tuesday, on Tuesday, that the next book club subject is Spider-Man. And we are here for Spider-Man month. The amount of nominations that I have seen
Yo.
is massive. So many different books. And I'm not ready to make an announcement yet. That announcement's going to come on Tuesday as to the final four. But let me just say this. I've seen One More Day nominated.
Make it happen.
So I read that. Remember when we on Pals Pulse used to do like the comic tag?
Oh, yeah.
One of you had to make me read One More Day at one point. I forgot who made me read it.
Probably Cale.
Probably. And I was tempted just to be like, let me clip that, make it its own video, and satisfy those people so we don't have to do it for the book club.
Yo, make it happen. I've never read it.
Thank you to Jay Sage for the £4.99. I really liked New 52 Captain Atom, but I was really young, and we know the New 52 reputation. Really nice to be validated by Sean. Love the New 52. Shout out, pals. Love. Hey, thank you, Jay, for the kind comment. You know, it's funny how easy it is, whether it's a super chat or not. Like, thank you. I appreciate the money, but whether it's a super chat or not, how easy it is to come into a chat and just be kind and decent. It's so easy. So easy. Thank you, Jay.
Spread some love.
Ways of the Sith says, "Hey fellas, a bit of a rough morning. Glad to be hanging out with y'all. Hey, I'm sorry you're having a hard time, dude. Whatever it is, you don't need to get deep with us if you're not trying to. But whatever it is, you're strong enough to get through it, and you'll be a-okay. And we're here for you."
Izzy's Issues asks, "You never confirmed whether or not I can nominate Trouble. I will give the okay to nominate it.
You can.
I don't think it's not going to get much traction, but give it a shot.
Whatever you want to do.
Put it up on the board."
Since passed from Amin. Yo,
That's an
lot of
interesting
Craven.
one. Yeah. There's a lot of Craven. I think Craven's last hunt, at least from the quick glance I've taken, seems to be on there a lot.
Yeah.
A couple superiors too.
I would be very excited to read Superior.
I want Ultimate Spider-Man to win.
That'll probably be on the poll, it looks like. So
Without question.
Yeah.
Without question. But I think there are a lot of very viable possibilities. And I can't wait to see what the poll looks like in a couple of days. But one thing we neglected to do last week is wrap up our Image Comics 2010s
Oh,
top five.
we were a little busy last week.
Yeah,
A
we had a
little
lot
bit.
going on. So we're gonna do that now, and then we're gonna get into the top five we have for Spider-Man, which is a different thing. So if we can just do our Image Comics top five number ones. Marco, you ready with that?
Yeah. My number one is Wicked and Divine. So I did not have Saga on my list. Um, for Wicked and Divine, it was a comic that caught me at the perfect intersection in the indie space, and then in this like heady world that Karen Gillan and I'm blanking on the name created and
McKelvey, Jamie McKelvey.
McKelvey,
Yeah.
Jim McKelvey, and I think the biggest marker for me is how much a book can move me, and there were a couple issues in there that I shed a tear, and if you're able to do something to me like that on such an emotional level, you're getting all the love in the world. And for it to be kept up so consistently over the course of I think about 8 trades, man, adored that book. Hugely impactful.
Hell yeah. Tyler?
Mine is Black Science. This is Mateus Scalera and Rick Remender. Black Science. I love Black Science from beginning to end. It is the quintessential Rick Remender comic. I think. Like I know Deadly Class gets a lot of love. Sean loves Low, but I think Black Science is really a synthesis of the real prevalent themes of Rick Remender's work, with family, with fatherhood, with being a son to a father, or being a child to a father who maybe tries his best but isn't the best. And then let's take a little bit of his Fear Agent stuff too, the high sci-fi, mix that in. A lot of the multiversal themes that are brought up in Uncanny X-Force show up in this book as well. Um, it's essentially if Reed Richards was a shitty dad, but he was trying,
Mm.
it's a great family book. It's a bit lost in space, but in a fucked up way. It's gorgeous by Matteo Scalera. If you're not familiar with Matteo Scalera's work, you're doing yourself a disservice. His work on Black Science is some of the best stuff ever. He gets to work with these different, you know, universes, different realities, different iterations of the same character throughout the multiverse. That is just mind-boggling. I Black Science was the issue, the first book I would read anytime it came out,
Nice.
mostly because it's alphabetical. Um, but I just loved it. It is one of my favorite things. One of the few books I have in those like Image deluxe hardcovers that I just love. There's also a Black Science skate deck out there that I really want that
Yo,
Remender put
what?
out for a bit. Yeah, Remender
That's
did a couple
sick.
skate decks, which tracks for him.
That
But
is sick.
I would love to read Black Science for a book club. It's about 50 issues, I think.
43 I have here.
43. Yeah, so similar to like what East and West wound up being for Hickman, but I love it. It's one of my highest recommendations.
Tyler, they had on the Ink Pulp podcast, they had Rick Remender on one of the episodes, and he mentions that they had an idea for an alternate ending to for the last issue, where every issue, because it has to do something with like different worlds,
Yeah.
would have a different would just have a different outcome, and there'd be like four different comics of the last issue out in the wild, variations, and
Oh
so
wow.
you could go
Okay.
pick one up, and then you'd be reading it with your buddy. Oh, remember when this happened? Wait, what? What are you talking about? Like,
Mess
and
with
then you
people's
would,
reality.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Ah, I kind of wish they would have done that. Polybag them too.
Oh,
I'm a sucker for a
yeah.
polybag.
Well, uh, to the shock of no one, my number one is also a Rick Remender book, and it is Low. Low is my favorite Image comic of all time. Rick Remender, oh man, he tore my heart out with this book. Greg Ticini on art. This was not my first exposure to Ticini. I think my first exposure was actually Uncanny X-Force, where these two had previously collaborated. And essentially, Low is 26 issues about a post-apocalyptic world where people have transitioned to living underwater. and it centers around this family that essentially has their hearts broken, and they are separated and destroyed and brought as low as possible by the nature of the world, the violence of it, the chaos of it. And the rest of the story is about how do you rise above that? How do you rise above the depths of the lowest point? And can you come out whole when you were brought that low? It's a heartbreaker. It's a tearjerker. It ripped my heart out of my chest, but I loved every second of it. I think Low is something that everybody should read, but not everybody's going to have the stomach for it. To me, it's Rick's best work, and it's something that I'm going to go back to for the rest of my life because it really, really had a significant impact on me, and I love it. So that's my number one.
Glad we
Uh,
read that book.
Matt Fisher throws in a couple super chats here. Let's talk about the 9.99 one. Black Science was amazing until the last issue. Rick missed the mark completely. Deadly Class is the only book of Rick Remender of RM from that time period that ends happy. I don't think a book needs to end happy to be a good ending either.
No.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
I don't think Black Science was ever meant to be a happy ending. That's part of the beauty of it, if that makes sense. Um, yeah, and Matt also gives us another 4.99 for. I love New 52, except for Superman. If they had named New Wally anything besides Wally, the character wouldn't have been disliked. Meow, it's cold. Did Matt just reveal that he's a cat? Is that a new lore
Cat,
drop?
cat dad.
Matt the Cat.
There it is.
Thanks, Matt. One of the criticisms Rick often gets is, the darkness and the lack of like happy endings and stuff. But again, it's a taste that you either have or you don't. Like you're either into that kind of jam or you're not. It is what I'm into. So I will always, support Rick Remender in what he does, even if he made fun of me at New York Comic Con.
He didn't
I
make
put that business
fun of
card
you.
away.
He was just busting your balls a bit.
It was rough.
Uh,
Uh,
Sean, you didn't have Saga on your list, right?
I didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't.
I figured.
And it's part of it is because it's not done. Part of it is because the break was way too long. I mean, we had like two different presidents during the break period.
Yeah.
Um, Part of it is I just think it went to a place where like I kind of felt like the story could have ended and then it didn't. And I was like, all right, I like it, but I don't love it the same.
Yeah. I didn't include it because I think it was had you gave me that list a couple years ago before the break, a
Mhm.
1000%, right?
Yep.
But post the break, other stuff has come out since then. I can't hold it in the same regard that I once did. It's not fair because and not even because it's not done, but it has changed. These creators have changed over the course of time, and I feel like this changed the flavor of the book, and I haven't been hankering to catch up. So uh, I can't accept that as like the best thing because I'd be judging it off of something it isn't.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad because Saga is tremendous, when it is, but it just lost heat for me.
No.
It was my number two. So
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. A lot of people sharing their thoughts about Rick Remender. Cosm says Lazarus has the same issue. Lazarus does have the same issue. It's an issue that a lot of image books have had. The thing with Lazarus, though, is that Lazarus struggled to sell.
Mm.
That was the biggest problem. It struggled to sell. It was tough for Michael Lark to, justify continuing to pour those hours into working on it. It was tough for Rucka to justify it, so they found another way to do it, and it hasn't been the same. But the initial push of Lazarus represents one of my favorite stories of all time, comics or not, and that's why it made my list, and Saga didn't.
okay.
Entertain Me drops 10 spot on us. You guys are so gracious today. Thank you so much. With the new 52, when it comes to change in comics, I simply need one of two things. One, the reason for the change to make sense. If not one, then two is for what comes after to be an intriguing story. Yeah, man, right? Like at the end of the day, these are stories, so they gotta be good. And even though it bothered the aggressive idiot earlier to say this, not everything is good. Not everything lands. And it didn't feel like the new 52 was creatively driven. And we talked for 9 fucking hours about that. It wasn't driven by creative people. Look at Absolute and how good that is. because it's driven by the creatives.
Yeah, I think about New 52, and like, no offense to JT Kroll, but I think of Green Arrow. They didn't know what they were doing with that character at the time. They're like, oh,
Right.
we got to DH him because maybe the show is doing this, but narratively, it made no sense. It was a bunch of hogwash that was confusing.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. Jay Sage with the 4.99 pound. Chilling with you guys is such a treat. Here's to many more years. I'm a big fan of cosmic comics. What are some of your favorites? Well, Jay, chilling with you is a treat.
Thank you.
Um, Thank you for that. What are some of our favorite cosmic comics, Tyler?
Oh, this is my specialty. I would check out Silver Surfer by Greg Pak. I forget who was art on that one. That was a fun little mini series. I think Ed McGuinness and Jeff Loeb's Nova, which is Sam Alexander as Nova, is a great son trying to find his father in space story. And then I would recommend, the other the other Nova series too that spun out of Annihilation by Abnett Lanning, and fucking Guardians of the Galaxy by Abnett Lanning. Wes Craig did some of that Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. Great stuff.
Tyler, was that Steven Segovia?
If you told me, I couldn't tell you whether it was or not.
Okay.
It's been too long, but that tracks. Yeah.
Cosmic Man, my stuff's in a different realm. I'd say stuff like Prophet is like spacey sci-fi. But Cosmic, the closest thing that I've read is, funny enough, Swamp Thing. The fifth volume where he just goes straight up into space. You get crossovers with Adam Strange, Thanagarians. That's about it.
It is impressive how you can shift to Swamp Thing in any kind of any kind of question.
You give me a
It's
topic,
really
it,
good.
it all leads back. The roads lead back there.
All those
You
roots.
know, one of the best street level stories I ever read was Swamp Thing, number 49.
Yo,
He
Dealt
goes
with
to
number
a-
seven.
A little
Number
piece of
7.
grass coming out of a brick.
Hold on a second. Number 7, where he goes to Gotham to figure out who the Batman is.
I mean, there was that Jack Hawksmoor issue of Ron V's run, right? With
That's true, yeah.
that was street level.
Oh man, that's hilarious. TFB TJ. Oh, I didn't even answer the question. Sorry, I'll get to you, TJ. Green Lantern. Jeff Johns' Green Lantern is up there. Annihilation. I only read that for the book club last year, but I thoroughly liked it. Thanos Imperative and Infinity by Hickman. That would round it out for me.
Donny Cates is Thanos as well. I'll throw that out there. Donny Cates and Jeff Shaw.
Sure. Do you consider Jason Aaron's Thor at all cosmic?
That begins a whole different onion to peel over it, because it's like, as Guardians, are they cosmic? Yeah, kinda, but the genre isn't cosmic.
All right, yeah, you're right.
I don't
Ooh.
disagree though.
What about Eternals?
There's a couple Eternal stuff that's I would consider cosmic as. They're really tied to the Earth though, in a way.
Yeah, though,
Yeah.
yeah.
TFB TJ did ask us, I just want some clarity. Is Parliament of Rooks connected to Rook Exodus? I'm glad you asked. I can understand being a little bit trepidatious about asking that kind of question, but there's nothing wrong with asking. So no, they're not connected. Parliament of Rooks, if I remember correctly, is published by Ablaze, and that is a completely separate entity than Rook Exodus. Rook Exodus is under Ghost Machine. Yeah, they're separate. They're separate entities. But I can understand how the use of a word like that, an uncommon word like that, could throw a person off for sure.
And Matt Fisher, who I accidentally called out apparently with a 4.99, saying, "I'm the only one who liked Kroll's Green Arrow." As for Image, Morning Glories would be one of the best, but I don't think we are ever going to get an ending. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's Nick
Yeah.
Spencer, is it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what kind of put him on the map.
Yo, I loved that book. It
It's
felt
good.
like Lost, but for like these ninja assassin kids. Real good. I don't think we ever got an ending. It made it
didn't.
up to like issue 50 probably.
Yeah, I think we had like an issue that was like, "Oh, is he coming back?" And then it dropped again.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it stopped. That's right.
he went on Substack, I guess.
Yo, the last issue was published in 2016, number 50. It's never coming back.
And if you don't end at 50, what are you doing, Nick? Just end it.
Right. Like, what are you gonna do? When are you gonna stop?
The climactic finale at 51 just doesn't work.
Wow, this launched in August 11th of 2010.
Oh my God.
For well, actually, you know what? For an image book, that's a pretty good schedule.
2010 getting to 50 by 2016 for Image.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
Actually, yeah, that is pretty decent.
yeah. All right.
Wow. Beating
Shit.
the allegations. Entertain me dropping another five on us. Thank you, brother. I went through the entire 9 hours, 13 minutes, and 7 seconds of your new 52 deep dive, 10-hour night shift security job sitting at a desk.
Oh, damn.
Woo!
Bro, I bet you Freddy Fazbear escaped. I gotta stop making Sean laugh when he's sick. It ruins the show.
Oh my God.
I know you're a FNAF lore fan, right, Sean?
I am
I have
obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's, yes. Only
to,
watching videos and lore, not playing the games.
to Google that.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay, so next up, we're gonna get into a different top 10 or top five, excuse me. This is top five Spider-Man villains.
Ooh.
I thought we would go a different way because we always do like top five stories or whatever. And with Spider-Man, I think doing stories is a little tough. Although if you guys are desperate for it, we could do that too. But I think doing villains was a different way to approach it. So that's what we're gonna do for Spider-Man month this month is rattle off our favorite Spider-Man villains, and we're gonna start with our top five and four. You guys ready with that?
I got my whole
Yeah.
list ready. Yep.
Yeah.
Tyler, why don't you kick us off?
So number 5, I have no real justification for outside of he's cool. Number 5 is going to be Quentin Beck himself, Mysterio. Mysterio is one of those
Cool.
characters that it's really glommed onto as a kid. I specifically remember the animated series had a tie-in cereal. You remember the Spider-Man cereal at all?
No.
And it had Mysterio marshmallows in it. There was a Mysterio fishbowl
Whoa.
head marshmallow, along with like Kingpin marshmallows as well. And I just thought he was really cool. The whole illusion thing, the costume design is great. So Mysterio's number 5 for me. It hasn't really comics wise. There's not too many great like I can point you to that Mysterio thing. There's Spider-Man, where Ultimate Mysterio is kind of in it, and then some of the big time stuff. The Gauntlet. There's a good Mysterio story in there. But my number 4 is Craven, the Hunter. What can I say? Phenomenal movie. Had to, land a spot on this list. No, I think Kraven's one of those characters that when he shows up in Spider-Man's world, shit's about to go down. And that comes from Kraven's Last Hunt, which I haven't read, so fake fan. But there's just an aura about Kraven that it's just like, okay, something is about to happen here. Even though I think technically the modern day Kraven is the son of the main Kraven. He's got a daughter too that does stuff. But Kraven's cool. There's always shenanigans that happen when Kraven shows up.
I like
Us.
that.
So my number 5 is Morbius. The also a film hero. Wait. They left. They left me alone to talk about Morbius. I love this character. The the creation. Whoa, hold on a second. What are
You're
we
bugging the
doing?
fuck out. Double red flag.
What's the red flag?
For blood. It's Morbin time.
Blood. The I it has it burned in my memory from the old animated series. And that's like the majority of my familiarity with the character is simply from that. And I love I love the mix of vampire with Peter as opposed to something like a Wolverine or anything else. For some reason, that to me fits. They're scary characters, Spider Bat. Everything else feels irrelevant for vampires.
Even your cat is like, that's a shit take, Marco. He's trying to tear up your back.
He's in the back, like really
Yeah,
trying.
he's like, dude, that was dumb. What are you doing?
And then I really like Shocker.
I
Stupid
bet
ass
you
character.
do.
But I always think of the video game, and he's in one of the scenes. He's a villain, and I have such a connection with
Shocker.
that. Yeah, such a connection with that game, and so for me the first two are the things that pop out to me outside of the comic book medium.
Fair enough. We're just having fun.
And this is your favorite top villains. It's not
Yeah.
like
Yeah. My list will definitely not reflect like what I think the objective, if we were even trying for that, top five would be. Spider-Man probably has the second best rogues gallery. Some people would say the first best, but I don't think he could beat Batman.
first best is the
Um,
Flash, obviously.
Yeah.
well, there are people who would argue that too, actually. So there you go. But I think Spider-Man's is up there anyway, is the point. And for me, I'm gonna start with a bit of maybe a weird one. I go Electro. I
Oh,
love Electro. I'm not all the way sure why, but I just think he's cool as shit. His power set, I always loved characters with electric powers, not because I'm black, all right? Before you guys go there, I don't know why, okay? But Electro's power set I always thought was cool. I thought it was like, well, how will Spider-Man beat this guy? He has electric power. Spider-Man can't get close. He's got a video game dedicated to him, Spider-Man 2, Electro's Revenge, which I played the shit out of and loved. He's also featured prominently in the animated series Ride in Universal Studios
Oh,
Islands of
dude,
Adventure.
don't even get me started on that. I love that ride.
Me too. I've been on that
Shocks you and the
ride
whole
more
thing
than
shakes. Yeah,
Yup, more than any other ride.
not long for this earth, but
Oh, don't say that. But yeah, I think Electro's awesome, and so he's number five for me. I love the aesthetic. I love the design of his suit too. I just think he looks cool. Number four is gonna be Hobgoblin. Hobgoblin. So Hobgoblin is one of those characters that I love in all mediums because he was badass in the animated series. He's better in the animated series than Green Goblin is, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they didn't do a better Green Goblin arc, but Hobgoblin got his due in the show. But then also in the comics, like I've read all every issue of Amazing Spider-Man from the old days. And one of the coolest things they did was the saga of who is the Hobgoblin. And that all that whole thing that they did. And I loved reading that unfold. So for me, like I don't love him more than Green Goblin, but I have a huge like for him. I also love the fact that he's got that orange going because orange is sick as shit.
man, you
yeah.
glazing them up. You hobgoblin on it right now.
Hell yeah, the Hobgoblin. So those are our top five and four. Please share yours with us. I see people in the chat sharing some. Um, yeah, like who are your favorite Spider-Man villains? TFB TJ shares his. Doc Ock, Venom, Kingpin, Black Cat, and Sandman.
That's good.
Sandman. Hell yeah,
Yeah.
dude.
I appreciate Sandman for his commitment to a look.
For a number of years, he's like,
Yeah.
you
Word.
know what? This is the outfit.
The,
This is what I'm wearing to anything.
the only time it's changed is when he was an Avenger.
Yeah.
Yeah, which he had like the more super heroic looking costume.
And like, is he even actually wearing the clothes? Because
It's sand, right?
right.
Or are
Yeah.
they wearing him? It's very what not to wear type of critique there, Sean.
No, because like he could theoretically make him. He doesn't need. He could make himself wear whatever.
He could get San Balenciaga or something if he wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. He
Brand
could be. He
name.
could. He doesn't need to wear those work boots. He could be trying to kill Spider-Man in Gucci flip-flops. Like he
Yeah.
could be. He could look like anything. He chooses to look like a workman, and I appreciate that.
If
He's
he
a
made
man of the people.
if he made the sand black Air Forces, then Spider Man needs to get the black suit on to match that energy.
Yeah.
Chris Lister says Shocker gets made fun of, but it's low key kind of brilliant that the guy with his power set, wears a quilted suit that protects him. Yes, it is brilliant.
He plans ahead. He thinks about it. Yeah. Jay Sage, Carnage, Green Goblin, Kingpin, Morlin, and Doc Ock.
Ooh, Moreland.
Shout.
Don't tell Cale.
Kyle
Yeah.
saying, "Where does White Rabbit rank for you?" Different list, buddy.
Yes. Yeah. If we were doing Top five hottest Spider-Man villains? Then yes. Then yes.
Hit
Paul would be on there as
Paul,
well.
Paul.
Of
Kingpin.
course. Listen, that ain't bro, that's all muscle.
That is.
And for the
That's all
furry
muscle.
community, we'd have to put like, oh, geez, what's Jonah Jameson's son's werewolf name?
Uh, uh I don't know.
White Wolf, Wolf, something. I don't know.
Wolfman.
Sure,
I don't know.
sure.
Uh let's see. Steve Canara says the story where he frames Hobgoblin. I assume you're talking about. Hell yeah. Harris Pagero. What's up, Harris? How you doing? The Spot, Hydro Man, and Hobgoblin. Yeah, Harris loves the Spot. That is his guy.
Spot's cool.
Yeah.
The best Spot story is in a Daredevil comic, though.
Fair.
Yo, he
Some
popped off for them in the movie.
right. Yep.
Yeah.
Some people would argue that's the best Spot story.
That's the only Spot story I've heard. So
Near says Craven, Mysterio, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, and Venom. Okay.
nice.
Okay. JJ the Great. Did you read this off already? No?
He did
JJ
Jay
the Great
Sage, yeah.
says, sorry?
Marco talked about Jay Sage, not JJ the Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Carnage, Scorpion, and Sandman. Well, JJ, not to denigrate you at all, but one of those things is not like the other. My man threw out the top four like heaviest hitters and then Scorpion. Well, no, Scorpion is up there.
Nah,
actually.
Scorpion's cool, man.
Yeah, Scorpion
Matt
is legit.
Gargan
I'm wrong.
is a,
My
yeah,
bad.
yeah. Don't put hate on Matt Gargan's name. It's also a Venom.
True.
Probably one of the more deadly Venoms too.
Cole says I'm manifesting Paul as the new Venom, so he'll be a number one. Yo,
No.
Paul is that'd be the craziest twist. Paul revealed as Venom. I never saw it coming.
So it's not going to be this list, obviously, but do you have a favorite shitty Spider-Man villain? Because he's got a lot of shitty villains too, like Screwball, Fancy Dan.
Stop. No, 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 no. No, no, no. You're not going to denigrate Fancy Dan right now. I love those guys. Fancy Dan. Who is it? Fancy Dan.
He's got these
Oh
other
my
goons. Yeah, I forget.
I love them. They're such a big part of those early Spider-Man stories. I remember when Spider-Man is facing off with them. It's Fancy Dan,
The Ox,
the Ox.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
who
then
else?
Montana, the Enforcers.
The Enforcers. When Spider-Man faces off with them, and I think they were hired by Green Goblin, and then they end up running into the Hulk in a cave. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that was an awesome comic book. I love Fancy Dan.
I'm a
Hey, Gavin Guidry. What's up, Gavin?
of course, coming in with Marvel knowledge immediately, Gavin.
Oh yeah.
Kyle saying Big Wheel. I like Big Wheel. Big Wheel's a dumb character for me. I think
He's gonna be up there for you.
Yeah. Isn't the brick also like? Isn't there a character who's just a brick wall,
Brick wall, that'd
like
be
a sentient
amazing.
brick wall? Hold on, I might have. This might have been a Nyquil dream I had.
That's an absurd concept.
I love it though. Kangaroo.
Harris, yeah, the kangaroo as a bad villain, and Boomerang. I don't remember the kangaroo. Nah, I can't say that I do. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Spider-Man villains all month long. So please keep sharing your thoughts about them. Spider-Man's got a great rogues gallery, and I've got fond memories of many of them. So we'll be diving into that a lot.
And you know what? A lot of the villains that become classic Spider-Man villains appeared in like the first couple issues. Like
Yeah.
they're OGs.
Yeah, if you go back to the first like year of Spider-Man comics, even you find like debut after debut after debut, like heavy hitters.
Yeah, man.
And they stand the test of time too, which is great.
Yeah, I mean they've stuck around. Like usually you think they're throwaway, but they're integrated really well into the stories. It's fun.
Pop quiz: who's the first villain that was introduced?
Vulture. Who is?
Is it Lizard?
Mm-mm.
Is it Green? Is it Dot Gok?
No.
Almost 100% sure it's the Chameleon.
That sounds right.
That tracks. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Russian spy at this time? No way. Yeah.
Yeah, Chameleon, first issue of Amazing Spider-Man.
Hell yeah. Love that. Um, Gavin said Gavin says showed up super late. My wife was selling me on rearranging my office, which is emotionally distressing. Word, I can only imagine what that's
Oh,
like.
damn. Vulture was in issue two.
Okay.
Fuck.
Remember the issue with Sandman where Sandman attacks the school and Peter has to figure out how to beat him, so he puts that fucker in the he puts him in the
Oh, the like a kiln, right? Like a fire thing?
no, doesn't he I
Furnace?
thought he what's the word I'm looking for? Vacuum. Doesn't he put him in like a
He just
vacuum?
vacuums it up. He hoovers them.
Yeah.
I think that's what I remember. It's been almost 20 years since I read that stuff, but oh man, love it. Okay, let's move things forward. We've got a lot more stuff to talk about. We're gonna get now into our whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, oh,
We got to get into our predictions, or not our predictions, our resolutions.
oh.
Yes, our comics New Year's resolutions. These are the things that we are going to do differently in 2025. Now, this doesn't need to be a massive topic. I've got two that I want to share. One of them is big time. Do you guys have any that you're interested in sharing?
I can go for a quick and easy one.
Let's hear it.
I have a couple of collected editions that I've never read. I have so kind of getting through my trade and compendium backlog. I have James Robinson Starman, which I need to get to. I have Alan Moore's top 10 that I need to get through,
Mm.
which I hear is like right down my alley, and I'll get to. And I also have his Alan Moore's Tom Strong as well. And like those three compendiums have been staring at me. DC has been putting out these compendiums of big runs like that, and almost like omnibus sized, but in soft cover, that I think are really good quality. The paper quality seems great. So trying to go through those and actually read those is something I want to do this year.
Mm.
Um, for me, I want to do more and read more and listen to more comics pedagogy, like how to teach comics. I've been trying to, in my mind, just like create some kind of infrastructure for how I would tell a 6 year old what it is that is going on in the pages, but then also how do you translate that for an adult and talk about it so that way you have these two extremes. And between those 2 points, what are similar threads that you pull on that help either read or better understand or improve their comics experience? Um, there's a writer and teacher, Susan Kirtley, that I recently just like took a look at. CXC festival happened a year ago, which talks about these kind of things. There's a Genuine Yang TED Talk that's really good. So I've just been trying to like learn more um, about that and be able to speak even more about comics in a different way.
I like that. I like that a lot. I hope that that's something that you're able to succeed in.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I have a couple books as well that I'm trying to like just learn more. So I think I have some here. I don't, but
Man, that inspires me. Like I feel like I need to do the same.
yeah, I got like a sketching book because I feel like it's easier to say stuff when I can kind of visualize it.
Yeah, man, and like I spent a lot of time reading books like how to comics books when I was a late teenager, early 20s, and then I kind of stopped.
Mm.
Um Part of it was like, oh, I get it because it started to get to the point where everything was saying the same thing and I felt like I had internalized the lessons, but there's so much more to learn, especially doing what we do and having to discuss comics. I think there's a lot more to learn. You're right.
Yeah,
Especially on the art side.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
feel like that's the biggest gap is like the writing end is more easily I think taught out to us. So it's gonna be uh, yeah, it's gonna be better to just learn more.
Totally. So my small one is similar to Tyler. Last year, I put a lot of effort into trying to catch up with my backlog because I have, like, you guys saw the Stokoa. I probably have two Stokoas worth of unread comics. And that has to change in 2025. So I'm gonna do my absolute best to get through that backlog. And also there are a lot of classic stuff that I haven't read. Like right next to me, I've got this Alan Moore Animal Man omnibus that I've never read. I want to read that finally. There's a lot of shit that I haven't had the chance or taken the chance to get through, and that's something that I want to change in 2025. In addition to that, though, I have done something monumental, game changing. I, as of now, officially, I have a pull list.
Oh shit.
After 20 years of collecting comics, I officially set up a pull list with my LCS, and I will be collecting that on Wednesday.
You do realize this makes your trip to the shop even quicker.
That is an upside. I love
Yeah.
that. I love it for me.
Could walk up to the register and be like, "Hey, for Sean." Oh yeah, the sheriff. Here you go.
Hell yeah, dude. I wish
Oh,
they
How
you should
did
name it the sheriff.
how does it work, Sean? Is it like through an app? Like, do they use like any kind of like software for this?
So I had to set it up through the website.
Okay.
And it was a little bit cumbersome. It was not the easiest thing I've ever done on a website. You had to set up your shipping address and all that, even though I'm not going to get it shipped to me. I have no desire for that. So that was all kind of funky. However, um, do you want to know the number of books on my pull list?
Oh,
69
Let's do an over under.
73.
for a month.
No, yeah, for a month, yeah.
For a month at the given time of January 2025.
And I should also say it includes things that were available to add to the pull list that aren't out yet.
Yeah. So like Aquaman's probably on there.
Aquaman, but also like Absolute Flash.
Sure.
So
Okay.
Fisherman Hunter, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna say 55.
Okay. Chat, where you at? Tilo says 55 as well. Chat, what are you saying? Over under on the amount of books that I added to my very first pull list of all time in ever in life.
TJ says over 100.
Oh
Hot
shit.
damn, that's a lot. That's craziness.
That's two new 52s.
Yeah. So like the way I thought of it was on average, Sean, you get about 15 books. That is not your average number. You actually for all of last year, even though you average about 15 books a store visit, you only actually picked up 15 4 times during the year. Everything else was
Oh,
some variation of another number. 18
interesting.
being the most. So I did 18 times about 4, gave me 72, and I said, you know what? We'll slap one other on there. 73.
Wow. You got a strategy.
Yeah, bro. I came in
Damn,
ready.
he started computing.
Booting.
TI 83 over here.
Yeah.
So you know what, Marco, that was a really good strategy, but it is over.
No. By how
It is
much?
over. So the actual number is 61.
Oh, okay. All right.
Now, you probably would have been right if I had done this in, let's say, October. Because since then I've culled my pull list. We talked about it on Pals Pulls where I was bringing stuff down. You guys helped me do that.
And I got to assume looking at the books in a pull list setting lets you visualize that a little better too.
Yeah. There were some books where I was like, books I'm buying right now where I was like, do I want to add this to my pull list? Nah, that's a game time decision.
Sean, what was the number again?
The number is 61.
I should have done okay. Instead of using the 18, I should have used the 15. The
Yeah.
15
And then
times
adding
the
a one.
4
Yep.
and adding the 1 is 60 plus 1. Fuck.
That's hilarious.
Fuck. Exactly. I nailed you. Oh,
Why didn't you take the average?
because I thought maybe
That's what the math that's the average.
but I would have thought he added those future series, and so that would have been something different. That would have given him pushed him over some
Okay.
edge.
And that's the funny thing is that does include like things like Absolute Green Lantern and Absolute Flash and all that stuff that's on the horizon.
Wow. Wow.
So discounting those, it would actually be probably around
50 something.
yeah, yeah. So who was closest in the chat? I'm just curious. Izzy
Uh,
had 62.
He went over.
That went over.
Went over. Near has 50.
Wow, that's probably the close. No,
No.
Tilo had 55.
Hendrik Perry 58.
Oh, so Hendrick got me. Nice, good shit. Yeah. So that's what's gonna change. Um, I just I've had too many negative experiences in 2024 that were all my fault, ultimately. And this is the way to change that. And every week, you guys screeching at me to set up a pull list, it had an effect. It was you guys were
Man,
right.
the death of a bit. Damn it.
No.
The death of a bit, but maybe a little bit more mental health for me.
The birth of a new one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What didn't they put in your pull list? What did they forget to pull in your pull list this week, Sean, huh?
Yeah, now he could be mad at the employee instead of himself.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm doing my part to make my life easier.
And tune back here next year, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see Sean actually decides to cancel his Comixology subscription. Here's to another year, 144.
That's what I should do.
Need a calculator for how much Sean spent on that.
You know what's fucked? I could not do that on the air because it takes so long. It's like an impossible thing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the FTC is just pushing right now for like a single click cancellation buttons for any subscription going forward. So maybe the government will save you from this one, Sean.
Please.
Dude, oh God. First of all, yes, thank goodness somebody cares about that problem. But the other thing they need to do, other than one click cancellation, is they need to get these fucking ticket prices in order. I was trying to go to WrestleMania this year. That's a no go. And I'm a loyalist when it comes to going to WrestleMania.
Bro, concert tickets are in the New York market are insane. It's sometimes cheaper to go to a different state and fly than it is to do a lot of these things.
I did that for a show. I went to go see Bad Bad Not Good. Tickets here were like $100+. In Boston, they were like 30. Easy.
Easy
4-hour
drive,
trip.
yeah.
Take a bus ride. I drove, and then I crashed at my friend's place.
Yeah, have some chowder over there. Yeah, I get it.
Ooh.
Hey, that's what the Swifties were doing. They
Yep.
were flying into Europe to see that woman.
And they also hastened the collapse of this earth with all the flights that they were taking.
Near says, cancel Comixology now. We are only a few days into January. Sure, I can get you before that charge period.
Dude, it's so hard to cancel it. Or maybe it's not. No, I'm pretty sure it is. I couldn't even fit like the canceling the Barnes and Noble card was so difficult that I said, you know what? Fine. Just take the $20. Like whatever.
Yo, I tried to cancel my New York Times subscription a couple months ago, and it led me through a number of pages. And when I finally got to the end of that, it just said, "Oh, here, swap to the cheaper, discounted price for a few months, and then we'll send you about your way." There was no other way to get a cancellation, unless you hit this like little link at the bottom. You click that, and it tells you to call a rep.
Wow.
James Jones says, "What? No more stack? No, the stack will still exist
Oh yeah.
because there are rogues involved. Because you're going to go to the shop, and if something might catch your eye."
I am not gonna remember to add things to my pull list consistently.
This is a half step, honestly.
Yeah. And there are books that like sometimes it's a game time decision. Like for example, Phoenix. I want it, but I shouldn't buy it. So I need to be confronted by that. Like, should I get this? Should I not get this? Because if it's just on my pull list, then it's just gonna be there.
It's locked in. Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's a real danger actually of it is, oh, I forgot I was pulling this. Do you want to cancel it? No, no, I'll catch up. Yeah, I'll read it. And then it stays there for years.
Exactly. Exactly. Thank you for all the love in the chat. Those of you who are congratulating me. Hecatron says, proud of you, Sean. Thank you, buddy. You guys are fantastic. James Jones says, I'm proud of you. This will make my work on the stack easier. It might, man, but I don't know. I'm a little bit of a wily guy when it comes to buying comics. You never know what's going to happen. So, um, yeah, we're still going to have fun with the stack. Nothing is changing in that regard, but I needed to do this. It's a long time coming. So. All right. Got a little bit of news to do. Then we're going to spin that wheel since you guys were great enough to get us way above the likes goal. And then we're going to jump out of here. So, Ryan Gonzalez, who people adore for her tremendous artwork, has been exposed for theft, art theft.
Oh shit.
Unfortunately, yes. So Ryan Gonzalez, she is a tremendous variant artist. I think you'll typically find her art in variants. She is also very popular from the video game Marvel Snap, which is a card game where her art is used frequently and loved there. Um, Recently, an individual on social media named at Cut Time Comic brought an issue involving Ryan Gonzalez to light. They said the following: I don't do this often, but it's getting ridiculous. In 2017, my sweet friend at Ink Panger drew my OC, original character, as a birthday present, which is pictured on the left. In 2024, at Ryan Bow Art traced it and submitted it to Marvel as an official cover for Ultimate Spider-Man number 15. We don't know how long she's been tracing. Now, the issue in question, the variant in question, features the Parker family on a vacation of some kind, and they've got they're doing up like a picnic type thing, and the OC is represented on this cover as Peter and Mary Jane's daughter.
Mm.
And if you look at the artwork side by side, I don't think there's a single doubt. I don't think it's possible to doubt that this is cribbed 100%.
She admitted it. Like,
Yeah, she did, but there's more to the story, right? Um, this exploded. This exploded, and a lot of people were talking about it. And Ryan Gonzalez finally had to speak on it. So first she said, I believe this is just the trajectory. I want this is what Ryan posted on Instagram. I wanted to share something. I've had this image reference saved on my folder for a while and didn't realize it was at Ink Panger's work. She reached out to me and we have since resolved it privately. I was in a rough patch personally and in a creative rut in the midst of pressure on a deadline. I understand the gravity of the situation and promise to actively seek permission first before using a reference as my own work. If you haven't checked out her work, please do. She's a stellar artist and deserves all the recognition and more.
okay, a reference and tracing are different things, I'm afraid.
Very different.
This is a literal trace. A reference is like, okay, I need to figure out how this body works in this pose, maybe getting an angle right. This is literally one to one, outside of like a tiara and a Spider-Man action figure.
Right.
Yeah, they superimpose the image on top of the other one in the article, and what are you gonna say to that?
I did this in the 5th grade of my How to Draw Legend of Zelda book that I got off a Scholastic book fair.
And we're referencing a Comics Beat article right now. There was actually a tweet that appears to be deleted now that Ryan posted up on her Twitter page, where she said she followed up and she talked about how she's been experiencing backlash and violent reactions to what she did. And look, obviously, violent reactions is not okay. I assume she means verbally violent, not physically violent.
Death threats run amok on the internet, unfortunately.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would hope that that is not the case, and I would hope that no one would do that, although we know that they certainly would. But the problem is that Ryan Gonzalez's response is not it. It's not it. There's no apology. At no point does she say, "I'm sorry that I did this." She blames being in a rough patch personally and creatively. That's not an excuse to steal from somebody. I don't care that you were in a rough patch. We've all been in rough patches. You don't steal. And then third, she doesn't even on the Twitter post at least, which I saw when this happened, there was no link to being able to get this person's work. She does use the at for Ink Panger, but that's not enough when you stole someone's artwork and you financially benefited from stealing their work.
You show off the original too, like and directly tag that back to the individual.
And like I like her work. Her snap variants are something that I would seek out, But like you do this once in the art community, and then your entire work is in question.
Well, because it goes to that like idea. This is the first time you've been caught,
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
right?
And it seems to be a reference for something very specific. It's somebody's OC drawn as a present. So like this is not something that's published. So probably hard to find.
Mm.
But the right person saw it and recognized it. But like I don't know, like where else has that been taken from? That Cosmo variant from Marvel Snap. Great variant. I don't know. Now I
Yeah.
don't know if that's someone else's OC dog that was in something. Which sucks because Ryan seems like a pretty decent human being. And I know there can be stress involved with deadlines and stuff, but it doesn't excuse this because you're still making money off of somebody else's art.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool! I just pulled it up.
And sorry, go ahead, Marco.
No, it's a cool card.
The article from Comics Beat, which is written by Christian Angeles, goes on to say that where was it? As to how long she's traced or copied others' original artwork, that issue has now come into question. According to Juby, Gonzalez has also gone on to delete other works on her socials since speaking with Nina.
Uh oh.
That's a bad look. And Juby follows up. What's more disgusting is that she says she, quote, didn't know it was Nina's art. So it would have been okay to trace from a smaller, more obscure artist. She clearly only feels bad because she was caught. And this is all the more reason not to allow her to cover this up with sob stories. I just want to reiterate that this thread was created because Ryan chose to outright lie to the public to save face. Also, strangely enough, she has deleted more than just that cover from her gallery since speaking with Nina. So if she's deleting other artwork, is that because that other artwork was also stolen and she's aware of that?
None of that looks good. Like that's you're catching yourself red-handed. It's not even a good cover-up.
Yeah.
It points to the obvious, right? Like it begs the question at that point.
James says the new Bob Kane.
I'm really bummed and frustrated. Ryan Gonzalez, I followed her for a while on social. She lives what looks like a very beautiful life, travels, has great, these dogs and everything else. And it's like, are you building this off the back of artists who happen to be less fortunate than you to have a position in the industry to make money doing what you do? Because that's fucking wrong.
Like her variants, it's not Peach Momoko level, but it's similar in terms of the fervor. Like anytime there's a Ryan Gonzalez variant for a show on Palace Pulse, I usually pull it for the show slides because I think they look neat.
I'm looking at her artist section and they look awesome.
Yeah.
I've not heard of the creator, but these like little chibi looking ones.
And you've
are
not heard of the
rad.
creators that has been traced over either.
Well, yeah.
but the problem is one of them works for Marvel and the other doesn't.
Right.
Yep. And one of them gets exclusive game variants too.
Exactly. That's a big deal.
That's a lot
Or
of money.
exclusive game variants. They mostly just they mostly just take covers and put them in the game. And no, the artists don't see pay. We've heard about that. So if you've got an exclusive one, that means that you were reached out to.
Got hired for it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Cole said tracing is more offensive than using AI art. I agree with that. And the reason that I agree with that is because you are knowingly, directly, specifically stealing from one person that you knew you were doing it from. Ryan Gonzalez is not an amateur new person. She knew damn well who she was stealing from. Of course she did. Look at the similarities between what Ryan already does and Nina's work. You mean to tell me Ryan doesn't know of the artist who does work so similar that she would trace it?
And
That doesn't pass the smell test.
two other things too are annoying. This is like, oh, it was in my reference folder. That's not how the reference works. Like just in terms of art.
Yeah.
Even that's weird. Yeah.
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 It's your tracing folder. Is that what that is? Let's check. Let's
Yeah,
see what else is
right?
in there. And also like, women already have it shitty in comics. So to have some like a woman doing shitty stuff in comics too, it's like, all right, like
And yeah, what?
like you have some cachet here that could be good, and now you're kind of squandering it for yourself and anyone you could help build up as well.
You're totally right. And um, not to put the onus on women having to be better because they're women, not in any way, shape, or form. It's just that, damn, dude, like you don't need this type of heat.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look good. It makes artists look bad. It makes people question you now. Ryan Gonzalez is gonna be looked at. She's branded with a scarlet letter now, especially because the reaction she had was really poor. No apology, no sorry. That's not a good look. Aaron Ruiz says what makes me sad is that when Jen Bartel was talking about how bad the cut from Marvel works are, she complained. You can't complain while tracing other people. Right. Jen Bartel had a reasonable point. Hey, we don't make that much money off of doing these covers and things, and then they take what we did and they use it in a game and they don't pay us anymore. And that's valid. But here you have Ryan Gonzalez, who's making more money than Jen Bartel is, probably because of the exclusives, and we can't even say for sure what was done by her or done by some obscure artist on the internet who does it for the love or is scraping by to try and make money. And Ryan Gonzalez comes along and says, wow, that's really good. I'm going to take it.
Yoink and take the check.
It's not cool, man. Not cool at all. Hopefully, Ryan Gonzalez does better in the future. She apparently has jumped off of. I can't find the tweets from her that she put out, so I don't know if she jumped off of social altogether, or no, she's still on social. Okay, so she hasn't left the land of social media yet, but she hasn't been posting.
And the other thing too is like I don't know if she's married to or with Bengal, who's a
Bengal.
great artist,
Oh.
and like that's just like a bummer too, because like your partner does this for a living as well, and I don't know, that just smells even worse to me.
Well, but it doesn't implicate him either.
No, I'm
But
not saying it implicates him. I'm just saying like it's a smear on the work, the medium
hmm,
that you both work in.
gotcha.
Of course. And I should clarify, she's off X. She's posted on Instagram 58 minutes ago. So she's still doing what she do. And by the way, guys, not that I think I need to say this. Gavin Guidry said, y'all got my wife in here all heated. What did we say wrong? Why is she mad? By the way, guys, we don't bring this up. This is not about any type of hate campaign. She said that she was receiving bullying. That's never okay. This isn't about bullying. There's a difference between talking about someone's misbehavior constructively and bullying. All we're here to do is tell you what's happening and discuss it constructively. There is no part of me that wants anything negative to befall Ryan Gonzalez outside of the professional landscape. If she were to lose jobs as a result of this, that sounds like you something you earned for yourself. But anything outside of that is not necessary.
Yeah, her person is not on trial.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Gavin said she's like his wife is saying that's fucked up. Yeah, it is. It is. And it affects like any time that something like this comes out, I think it can affect other artists. Like someone could question Gavin, not that they should or would, but it could happen. Like, hey, if Ryan Gonzalez is doing this, who else is doing this? It's not fair. We have a very small community.
Yeah, too many connections. Too many people know each other.
Yeah.
Which makes tracing even dumber.
Yeah, right. Like somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, wait,
That's
I
like
recognize that. Somebody showed me that months ago." I know this person's style. The same way you might know somebody's writing.
it's like when you date a
Yeah.
coworker and then you cheat on that coworker with another coworker. It's like, come on, someone's gonna figure that out.
Shit, where you eat.
Yep. Oh man, sad. I hate reporting on stuff like this because I genuinely do like what Ryan does. Cosm says, "Isn't that the same as running, just vanishing and waiting for it to blow over, essentially?" I mean, yeah, like I said, she is posting on Instagram, apparently. I don't have access to Blue Sky, so I don't know, but apparently she also left Facebook. So yeah, I think there probably is an element of that. And again, the lack of accountability is the most disturbing part of all.
Hmm.
300 Bowed says if AI draws the same image with six fingers, it is okay. No one's saying that. No one's saying that at all. I despise AI art. We've done many rants about AI art on this podcast. I think it's objectively wrong to do AI art. The problem is if let's say that I go to an AI art generator and I type in, Batman, and it feeds me all these different, it creates a Batman based on all these other artists who have done Batman. I did not A, financially benefit, or B, have a direct awareness of who it was stealing from. This is like it's like what it is. She's a fucking professional artist who saw someone else's work and stole it. That's what that like that's pretty bad. I don't think it's justifying one to call out the other.
Yeah, either situation is not an ideal situation. We're
Yeah.
not aiming for that. It's not the outcome.
Yeah. Okay, 300 Bout says that was a joke. That makes more sense to me because I've seen you around here all the time. I'm familiar with you. Okay. But still I think it's worth pointing that out. We're not saying one is okay when we're calling out the other.
Permissive time traveler Joelle Jones was caught tracing during her Wonder Woman You're Off Floor run. I think we had a conversation about that too.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yep. And that's fucked up.
Yep.
That's fucked up. Have we seen a lot of her at DC since then?
I feel like no.
She did that at Ninja Turtles recently, so not at DC, but she was
Yeah.
at
Right.
Ninja Turtles. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, not a good look.
A little harder to
Not a
trace
good
Ninja
look.
Turtles.
Gavin, do you mind saying how this makes you feel? I know if you don't feel comfortable, that's totally cool. If you don't want it read on the air, that's cool. I'm just curious as an artist, like where do you come down on this kind of thing?
Hmm.
I can imagine,
I
but
mean, his wife said it best. That's fucked up.
Position taken.
Dragro says Greg Land made a career out of tracing.
So I'm gonna make a distinction here. Greg Land used photography and non-drawn art for tracing, and I think that falls more under reference. Yes, it is distinctly traced, and he traces over his own art a lot, which I guess that's fine. It's lazy in my eyes, but I guess it's fine. He traces over porno, which like hell yeah, brother. I have less of an issue with I have an issue with it, but I have less of an issue with it than I do directly tracing someone's art that they have made and created themselves. Like Greg Land did like traced over like that meme of that old guy having a heart attack? Stock photo. It's like the it's like an old man in a
Oh,
white.
like leaned over.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was used in like an Iron Man panel where he kind of like just did that. So
Oh,
it's it's tracing, yes, but it's not stealing art. If the distinction is different there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gavin says it, right? Like land is just lazy. It's not quite the same. Yeah, like it is uh it is producing art, but not off the back of already produced art.
right. I've always said it. I have no problem with Greg Land. I don't. I have a problem with a person who takes someone's work, someone's art, and steals it and doesn't credit them and makes money off their effort. That is, to me, that's vile. DC Patrol says a lot of artists use trace and reference. They make their own with their own style. I don't enjoy the look of it, but it happens a lot. Go ahead.
Chad brings up the point that I was trying to do. He says, but the photography is done by photographers. Shouldn't they be compensated? A lot of it's stock photography, which is then public use that I've seen Greg Land trace. Um, there's a lot of gray, though. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Julian Thomas says what she did is obviously wrong, but is this not what you want to hear after an incident like this? If I understand you correctly, you're asking her response. Is that what we want to hear? And for me, the response was lacking in an apology. I didn't find the tweets, but I remember distinctly because I was on this when it was happening. I distinctly remember the accusers saying that she lied about not knowing who the art came from, and also that she lied about reaching out in the first place, and that the reach out didn't happen um, until the backlash began.
Oh.
So, and again, she didn't apologize in the body of the message. And she on Twitter, she fronted the message by saying she was receiving bullying and hate. And it's like that should never happen. But for that to be the first thing out of your mouth when you're accused of something as serious as this makes it feel like you're trying to garner sympathy and not come, to the table bare, hat in hand, and saying, "I'm sorry, I fucked up. I was had a bad place. There's no excuse. I will not do this again. I have reached out. I've made amends. I've done my part, and I will continue to do my part." That's what I want to hear. That's all I need to hear.
And like, hey, this is a great artist. If you want to support them, here's a link to their shop. You
Right.
know,
Yep. I am so ready to forgive people who don't offend me personally because I don't give a fuck about any of this. This isn't my personal life. So if you're a person who did a wrong thing and you're a public figure and you apologize and you do the right things, I don't give a damn. I will enjoy all of your work after that. But you have to do the right things. That's the only problem with Warren Ellis is that he didn't do the right shit after. What he did is immaterial to me because it didn't happen to me. But I care about the people he affected, and if he's not doing right by them, then he's not fit to be back. That's all I'm saying. Do right by the people you offend and hurt with your actions.
Gavin sent a message here earlier. We all cut corners, by the way, and I think it's important to distinguish between cutting corners and swiping the work of another artist.
I think Paulo Rivera has some great process work that he's shown, where he literally poses for photos to then trace over it to get the form for things. Sure, that's all his own stuff. So the discussion of theft, it doesn't really compute there.
I want to say Alex Raw or maybe it's JG Jones, but one of them hires models.
Ross does. Yep.
Ross,
He did it
yeah.
specifically.
Oh,
I
wow.
remember that for Marvels. I think reading about that, he had models for that. Yeah.
Yep. Tilo says Warren did right by his victims, last I heard. So the last update that I saw was that Warren Ellis communication with the victims had ceased. They have a website called so manyofus.com, I believe is the name. And they said that things were going well for a while, but then things broke down. That is the last update that I recall. So I could have outdated information, but that's what I recall. Chad Cowder says, so adding the color isn't transformative. Brother, look at those images and you tell me, man. You tell me if you were that person, if you were that artist. not an observer, if you were that artist, would you think that that was transformative enough to warrant somebody using your art and not compensating you and not acknowledging you? I don't think so.
And there's a difference between transformation between mediums, like photography to then hand drawn art and then digitized. There's transformation going on. Art to art, you're in the same medium.
Yeah.
Uh, Go ahead.
Sorry, just on the Ellis part, they seemingly started to close up shop the site January 19th, 2023. He'd reached out once in 2021, but since then, it seems like that there was no further mediated accountability.
Right.
Man, they're still paying for that domain too.
Yeah, it looks like it's still up.
Julian Thomas says, so is this a person whose work you're no longer willing to support? Well, quite frankly, I don't own any Ryan Gonzalez variant covers because I'm a cover A guy primarily, and her art doesn't speak to me enough in this realm to purchase it. I was a fan of her variants in Marvel Snap, and I would often use them if I was able to get them and buy them with gold if they were available in the shop. So that's the only way this affects me personally. If I were a consumer of Ryan Gonzalez's art, then yeah, this would make me say this is cause to pause for me. Absolutely. All right. Let's move forward. We hit the likes goal, so let's have a good time and end this show on what should be a fun note by spinning the wheel of games and seeing where it lands.
Buy or sell.
Let's see. There it
Is-
is. Okay. Y'all ready to spin this wheel? Let's see what we got.
Spin that wheel.
Spin, spin, spin. It always wants to do Cale's Comic Con. I don't know why. Every time we do this, it wants to do Cale's Comic Con. It needs the show yearns for Cale representation.
It requires it.
Yeah. You want to do that? You want to respin since we've done that recently?
Yeah, respin it.
Sure.
Watch you do it again. Brave and the Bold.
I don't even know what that is.
How did this one work? I remember.
Whose
I
game
remember
is
this.
that?
I remember this. Hold on. If I look up the game image, it might remind me. This was it like a team up thing that we talked about? Games, Brave and the Bold. I don't even have a fucking.
Yo, let's do a buy or sell. I have a buy or sell.
What kind of janky ass show is this that we have? I'm including myself. We have games on this list. We don't even know what the fuck they are. I have literally no recollection.
I
of that.
remember this.
I don't remember
Even
that.
the chat is silent on this one. All right, we're getting rid of that one. If you want to do buy or sell, we can do that.
Go for it, Marco. If you've got a good one.
All right. So buy or sell Marvel, DC, but Marvel doesn't have X-Men, doesn't have Spider-Man, and doesn't have Thor, and DC doesn't have the Trinity.
Marvel. Buy on Marvel.
Wait, those are very. Thor is like.
He said, "Take the X-Men, take Spider-Man, take Thor."
Yeah.
Who would you pick over those people?
Cap.
Iron Man,
Iron Man.
Oh, Daredevil, I guess.
Thor.
I think Thor's got a good representation.
Yo, you're a funny fucking guy, man. Yeah, I buy on Marvel and sell on DC. You don't have Batman or Superman or Wonder Woman. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah, Batman alone, honestly. You could have said, hey, Marvel loses X-Men, and they lose Spider-Man, and DC loses Batman. And I think that's, like...
Enough.
Enough.
It,
Because then
Is
Marvel
there a
still has all the
character-
Avengers. Marvel will bring the
Yeah.
Inhumans back into the fold again. Then DC has Superman, and the... Oof. I pick Marvel in your situation, Marco.
damn. 'Cause, this
Marco's
you
like,
guys
well,
do
DC still
lean-
got Swamp Thing, so I'm good.
Yeah, I don't really care. Like, I was gonna go DC because I feel like those aren't my big characters.
You're so the cornerstone of what makes DC DC. You get rid of them. That's fine.
It- they're fine for me.
And in this situation, is this going forward? They don't have those characters, or they've never had those characters in the history.
They just haven't had those characters.
Oh, so DC doesn't exist, so we
Yeah.
can move on altogether. Gavin says, "Did Marco say he had a good one, or just that he had one?" Well, apparently he had one.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one. I thought it would get you guys to be like, oh, maybe consider. I don't know.
No,
Nothing
no.
easy. Straight
Uh,
shot.
and as a result of that, I'm going to provide us with another one. Hopefully, that will generate a
I
little more conversation.
I got one
You
before
got one?
yours.
Go
Sean.
for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Go for
Buy or sell. Sean doing a buy or sell, or Marco doing a buy or sell.
Buy on me. Buy on me.
it. Oh man. All right. So this one I think we can all speak to. I hope no, we definitely can. And I don't know what my immediate answer is to this question. This is a tough one. This is Jonathan Hickman focused. Buy or sell on Jonathan Hickman's time on the Avengers or his time on the X-Men. Obviously, his X-Men run was revolutionary. It propelled the X-Men to heights that they haven't seen in 20 years prior, and it revolutionized the game for them. But the Avengers run was stellar in its own right. It actually finished and it led to Secret Wars. So, where do you guys land on that? Remember, the Krakoan era launched a whole new world of X-Men comics.
That's an easy one for me, actually.
Go for it.
It's X Men. I keep X Men.
Okay.
In my eyes, Bendis had the better Avengers tenure, and I don't have a problem. Like, as much as I like this Avengers and New Avengers and Secret Wars, I don't have a problem cutting it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was so siloed until it wasn't with Secret Wars, and the whole line got fucking upended. But it was kind of its own thing where, like, all the other books were allowed to kind of prosper. Daredevil was great. I'm gonna keep X-Men. I think X-Men, the Krakoa Age will be pivotal in the history of X-Men going forward in perpetuity. Whether or not the quality of it dipped or not, Hickman really wasn't even on it that long, to be honest. But it's necessary for the X-Men going forward, I think.
Yeah. I feel like it has the impact, and I mean, there's some recency bias to it, but it has the impact. It continues to have the impact that we're still feeling, 5+ years later, and uh, for for me, that feels like enough. I wasn't part of the movement, for the Avengers. I didn't read Secret Wars as that was happening, but reflecting on it, because we read it for a book club, it feels like the breadth is more on the X-Men side. Because you're right, that it did have that many more titles spin out of it, a full line spin out of it.
The question is content or impact, I think, here. Because I think the content is much more in the Avengers. Like, there's a lot more books. There's a lot more Hickman stuff there.
Mm.
But the impact that creating the Krakoa era did, we're still not even out of it fully. We don't know the full impact of it, the whole scope.
But the Hickman stuff was good too. Like it was phenomenal.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Apocalypse in a suit. I'll take that all the time.
Yeah. The entirety of Hoxpox and like where it was
But
going.
just sheer number, though,
Sure.
Avengers
for sure.
beats it out. Yeah.
So I'm gonna be the odd duck, I guess, because I'm saying Avengers.
Apparently,
Now,
me and Marco are the odd ducks compared to Chad.
I love what Bendis did with the Avengers. I think though that for my sensibility, Jonathan Hickman's Avengers era, if we're encompassing, of course, Avengers and New Avengers, is up my alley. It made me think very, very deeply about, the nature of what is acceptable to do when you're trying to save your people and how far is it allowable to go. I really loved the way that he built towards his events, going into Infinity, going into Secret Wars, was an incredible time. He really understood how to spotlight the characters that he had, and did great things with characters like Doctor Strange, who I had never cared about really prior. Great things with Iron Man, great things with Cap, the Fantastic Four. Not I'm not counting the Fantastic Four run, but Reed Richards was a part of the new Avengers. By proxy, Sue Storm was a part of it and did great stuff with her. So I look at what he did with those characters. He elevated every single one of them. And then on top of the fact that it felt like he managed to make me feel like the end of Marvel was coming. Like that's how big of a deal it felt like going into Secret Wars. And then in a way they paid that off because if you stopped reading Marvel right there, that would feel like a complete story. If you stopped after Secret Wars. And that's the only time in my history of reading comics where I can say this is it. This could have been it. That could have been the end.
It was Marvel's Crisis.
Yeah.
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 See that?
And and it ended. That's the biggest sticking point. Because for me to judge Hickman's X-Men, in my mind, yes, it spawned all these other things, but he stopped at Inferno. So I closed the book on him there. And I just think that as stellar as what he did was, I think what he did with Avengers hit harder for me.
Well, it's incomplete, to be fair. Like,
Yeah,
if you end it there, it isn't complete. Where, to your point, there was there was a place for the whole of Marvel to end,
right.
and it ended with Hickman. Begins with Jonathan, it ends with Hickman.
I'm buying Gods instead, fellas.
Oh, hell no. Uh, I'm just putting up a poll right now because I want to see what you guys are saying. Although it seems pretty
I don't
clear
think we
just
need a
based
poll,
on your
Sean.
chat, where you guys lie. I mean, I don't know about you, Marco or Tyler. I was there during the Avengers stuff that Hickman was doing, and it was insanely exciting. New Avengers got that feeling back for me. Like it got that vibe back that I had even at that point had been lacking for me in comics for years. Where I just didn't feel like anything was like exciting like that.
I was there for it. Yeah. I personally prefer the Fantastic Four stuff to the Avengers, but it was still great. The incursions, fucking insane. But I would argue that the incursions is what makes the movie so shitty. So I'm blaming Hickman now um, for this multiversal stuff in the movies. Thanks, Hickman, planting that seed.
Let it happen.
But then you got like Ex Nihilo and Starbrand. Hold on.
And even Hyperion,
That
that
where is
moment,
he? Where is that one?
he was just in Avengers,
That
remember?
was a different Hyperion.
Oh, right. That moment in Infinity where Thor and Hyperion know they're gonna die, and they're waiting to face those builders or the engineers or whatever the fuck they were, and they're just in space, like, "Hey, brother, if I gotta go out, this is the way I want to go out. Let's be warriors today." That very few moments in comics hit that hard. That shit was amazing.
Tingly. Get goosebumps.
Hell yeah. Yup. Mike Hank says, "Buy or sell date night. Thanos in a suit or Darkseid in a suit."
Ooh, Thanos in a suit.
I know who Thanos simps over, and I'm not about that, so
You want your goth mommy?
I'm good.
I feel like this should include Apocalypse instead of Thanos because we saw Apocalypse in a suit in X-Men. In which case, I would definitely buy on Apocalypse because my man was dapper.
Yeah, yeah.
But between the options you gave, I feel like Darkseid probably looks better in a suit. But I would never want to go out with him because he'd kill me.
He's there to explain to you the anti-life equation.
And then make me a slave to it. Whereas Thanos, you know, I could theoretically walk away from that dinner.
Got a 50
Dark,
50 shot.
Darkseid would be like, Darkseid is going to the bathroom when the check comes out.
Oh man. All right, I'm going to close the poll. It's a pretty one-sided affair.
Decisive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Avengers 85%, X-Men 15%.
Wow.
So, I wonder how much of that is because one of them is incomplete. I don't know.
It
Uh,
is these issues Thanos in a suit, but Darkseid in a chair.
Was he
wait,
Magneto
why?
at this point?
The
Huh?
what?
What is he, Magneto right now? Just chilling on a chair?
Just hanging out, just riding the chair.
Hecatron says his Avengers is a welcome addition to the conversation about accountability of these heroes. Yes, exactly. I like when a level of reality is placed upon the characters and we're made to ask these big questions. Sometimes that doesn't work, but I think when it's handled by the right creative team, it can. Like what was done with Doctor Strange, where the weight of his actions was destroying his soul. I mean, come on, man. I'd much rather read about that than Doctor Strange's, merry adventures in magic. That's just the kind of reader I am. But that's not everybody. Uh Julian Thomas. Sean called it. That's one of the best moments, period. Hell yeah, brother. All right. We've put our 3 hours in. You guys have put your 3 hours in. Thank you so much for hanging out. We've been sitting strong with a lot of you hanging out with us tonight. Or tonight, with Jesus Christ. Today.
Today.
If we keep going.
This morning. 3 more hours. They said 9. They said 9 hours. That's a good work day.
You want to put in 9 hours?
I gotta pee,
Uh,
Sean. Let's. I can't do that. I didn't bring the bucket.
No lunch. There's no lunch break yet.
Dude, I saw a commercial for these basically like middle-aged male adult diapers. But it's a cup. It's a
Ooh.
cock cup where you just go to the bathroom in it and that's it. That's all you do.
They got dude diva cups now.
Yeah, bro. I was blown away. Like, wait a moment.
Dude,
Like
Forbidden shot
what
glass.
one thing I'm not gonna do is piss myself. Like, regardless of anything, I'm not gonna do that. Like, what am I doing that's so important that I need to piss? Like, is it because I'm in the line at New York Comic Con? No, I'm not gonna piss myself in the line at New York Comic Con.
who are you pissing yourself in the line to wait for?
Jonathan Hickman.
Okay.
Man, you ain't getting me to admit that I'm gonna piss myself in any situation, Marco.
Alan Moore.
Never.
All right, I'll piss myself to stand in line and meet Jonathan Hickman, Obama, and if I'm gonna get to talk to him, Dave Chappelle. Oh no, Howard Stern. Howard Stern. Yeah.
I know.
Ooh.
I'm not pissing myself in any situation.
Alan Moore.
Because then I'm gonna meet these people with a fucking pee stain in my pants. Like,
Yeah,
these
no,
are
the cup. It's
these are
you
my
know.
calico jeans. It's designed. I bought them this way.
Paul McCartney.
Man, you guys just be straight pissing.
Yo. And Obama.
All right, Rhea
Oh,
Ripley.
yeah.
All right, get it over with. Come on, well.
Gavin Guidry says Famke Jensen. So Gavin, with his wife present, assumingly, is putting it on Front Street that he would piss himself to meet Famke Jensen. Mind you,
Real,
I have seen her
real.
in person. That is real. I have seen her in person at New York Comic Con once, and I almost pissed myself because I couldn't believe my eyes.
Man, we need to work on the Comics Pals bladders. That's my 2025 resolution.
I've got an
Strong.
iron bladder.
Gavin did the,
Oh,
the pivot.
oh,
He did the pivot. Yeah.
Covering his bases.
Yeah, I got it. Okay.
Covering his bases. No, I would definitely run the risk of that happening if I got to meet Sophie Turner.
Oh.
Yes, Sophie Turner.
The
Jean
Phoenixes?
Grey.
Armas.
Anna de Armas. Who did she play?
Nobody.
Marco's
I
just naming people he's simping
wanna
for at
meet
this
her.
point. Yeah.
But would you? Okay, you want to meet her, but would you piss yourself?
Yeah.
Why are you pissing yourselves? Stop pissing yourselves.
Yeah.
This is a rhetorical question I will not take part in. Now,
Yeah.
Oh
shitting
my God.
ourselves. No, I'm just joking.
Gavin says Keira Knightley. We'll talk.
Nah, I can't do that. Near said, "What about Morrison?" See, I've met Morrison. I already cried in front of Morrison, so I don't need to do that again. I'm not gonna cry and piss meeting Morrison,
You gotta drink a lot of water to get that much liquid out of you.
right?
Like you made the mistake of drinking too much. You had your morning cup of tea, and you're like, I'll do a coffee because yeah. And then you walk into the venue, and it's I gotta drink down this water bottle. I'm so thirsty with this coffee that I got. And then you got on the line, you're like, fuck, guaranteed last position, but you can't move. The guy with the sign is just like, right here, man, last one. You're the last guy. Come on, come on. What do you do?
So the
You
answer is
piss.
piss yourself?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Get with it. Brian 12ish says, I would not piss myself for Sansa Stark. I didn't say Sansa Stark. I said Jean Grey, brother. But if we're talking Game of Thrones, come on. Natalie Dormer.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And you know who else? The Red Woman.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
all right.
Stop it.
Marco's
The
like
Red Woman.
Bran of Tarth. Marco wants to be tossed around. He wants to be bold.
Yo. Step on me.
I'm about to have to rewatch that show. Absolute Overthinker said, "Here we go, Sean and the Redhead. Listen, bro, and Game of Thrones had him. The Red Woman, Sansa Stark. It was a great show.
Oh, who was it? Ygritte? Ygritte?
Who was she?
The Wild Woman with Jon Snow. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
it's
That's
actually
right.
insane how many of those actors like I haven't seen them.
Huh?
Gavin says, as I've gotten older, I'm so much more willing to just go pee rather than hold it. So I think I'm good for a while. No, I feel you, bro. But what we're talking about is you're in that line. It's an hour. Famke Jensen is there. She ain't waiting for me. I'm waiting
taking
for
the
her.
fucking L and just going to the bathroom like a
No,
human.
bro. I had to pay. You know how expensive it is to
Then you
meet
talk to
Jonathan
customer
Hickman?
service. Hey, I pissed myself. Actually, don't say it. Hey, I had to get off the line to use the bathroom. I'm a little incontinent.
We gave your spot up. Sorry.
You then ask for a refund.
They're not gonna accept that. They're gonna tell you
I go to my
to
credit
fuck
card.
off.
Credit card fraudulent.
Nope.
There
Yeah,
are
okay,
there are
but then you didn't meet
alternatives
her.
to pissing yourself.
But then you didn't meet Jonathan Hickman.
I'm fine if I'm dry.
I'm not.
You rather
I
be
need
wet
it.
and met?
Wet and met. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yo, hold the line at Famke Janssen.
Harris said she was Tonks in Harry Potter. Who is Tonks? Who
No,
was
that's
Tonks?
the different. That's a different actress. Yeah,
Oh.
he's getting them mixed up.
Gavin says, I'm going to be real. I wouldn't be in the line anyway. I'm just not that guy. You know what? The funny thing is, neither am I. I don't wait in lines to see anybody. I don't give a fuck. I wear glasses now. I can see these people from a distance. I'm good.
Harris is saying, bro, people have shat themselves in line at Comic Con, pissing. It's like this is not justifying defecating and pissing. This is
That's
not. No, this is
crazy.
not what this show is. That's bad too. Those Magic the Gathering tournaments where they got skid marks on the white chairs. That's bad.
The thing is that Harris goes to those kinds of tournaments, so
He's normalizing it, and then you make it Sean break his mic.
Too animated. Too much.
he knows what it's like.
Okay, all right, hold on. Buy or sell? Shitting yourself or pissing yourself?
Okay.
God. Kevin's never going to listen to this near his wife again.
No one's ever going to listen to this again at all because the only word we've said in the last 20 minutes is piss. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, guys.
How did we
I'm
get
sorry.
here? How am I the voice of reason here?
I don't know.
We've devolved.
James says, I wouldn't piss myself to meet anyone, but would like to meet Michelle Pfeiffer or Julia Roberts. Okay, James, what are you willing to sacrifice? You can't meet Michelle
Your
Pfeiffer
dignity
without
and
sacrifice.
jeans?
Yes. Is she gonna know? No. And by the way, maybe if you tell her, she might feel sympathetic towards you. Like, oh my God, you did that for me? Thank you so much, James.
As somebody who's worked at retail where I've seen customers who have pissed and shat themselves, you know. You know.
No thanks.
How are you gonna know? It's in a cup. It's in a cup.
Let me see the logistics of this cup.
Watch
I
the
don't think I could
commercial.
talk to someone if my cock and balls is wet in a cup full of piss. I'm sorry.
Hey, if
I
if
can't.
it's the right person,
No, I'm
If
in a
it's the right
urinal
person,
and
you
somebody
make.
tries to chat me up when I'm in the urinal. No,
Oh no
that's
no no
weird.
no!
But
Thank
that's
you.
weird.
Yeah, no thank you.
Yeah, that's not cool. You should never
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
You got to leave a space.
Always. Yeah. Come often? Oh no no sorry. Excuse me. Sorry.
No, come never.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
VNet
pretty bugged
Fad
out.
said, if somebody pissed themselves to meet you, Tyler, how would you feel?
Think about it.
Okay, VNet Fad, I have very low standards. I love attention. I'm the problem here.
Wet attention. Gladly be like, wow, thanks so much. I won't shake your hand, but
Listen, Gavin, you have access to things that we don't have. He said, I met Sam Raimi in a green room and sacrificed nothing. Yeah, but I can't do that. I can't meet Jonathan Hickman in a green room. He ain't looking for me, and I'm not in the spaces where he's at. I'm the kind of guy who has to piss himself to meet Jonathan Hickman.
There is one time where I almost pissed myself because I turned a corner at Comic Con once and I almost trucked Stanley, who was walking with Ta-Nehisi Coates, very tall man, because I was on my phone looking for the panel they were going to. If I had knocked down Stanley at like his frailest, I probably would have pissed myself out of fear.
yo, you would have gotten jumped.
If you would have
sleeping on
killed
that.
Stan Lee,
Damn, I gotta wear green and purple for perpetuity after that.
Only but then we'd be able to say, oh yeah, we're the podcast that has the guy that killed Stan Lee.
Which that would kill any Marvel podcast discourse.
right?
Yeah.
Definitely. Oh my god! I hope you guys are having a good time with this conversation because I don't know how the hell we got on this. Brian 12ish says, Sean, this may be worse than your steak cooking preferences. Let me tell you one thing. First of all, no, two things. First of all, I don't cook steak; I eat it. That's number one. Number two is if you think, look, this week I won Pal of the Year last year. Okay,
Yeah, this is who you're voting for, everyone.
yeah, yeah, that's absolutely true. And then throughout the whole week, I've been getting negative messages about me on our YouTube's comment section. And do you want to know what I say to that? Do you want to? This is what I say to that. Because again, you guys don't know me personally. If you knew how little I give a fuck about people who think I have a bad opinion, it would be remarkable to you. One of my favorite things that I get to do in life is absolutely eviscerate people who talk shit. I'm not actually a nice guy. I love to tear people apart, but I won't do it first. That's all I'm saying.
Does not it only fires back.
Damn, you
Yes.
just handed Marco Pal of the Year next year.
Hey, that's okay. I love everybody who voted for me. I'm just saying, if you think I have bad opinions, not that you're saying, I know you're joking, Brian, but generally speaking, if you think I have bad opinions and you want to tell me the only thing you're buying yourself is a ticket to me shitting on you, and I don't need to be in a line to do that.
Brian says, I would piss my pants not to have a well done steak. See, that's something I could get with.
Yo, CW Gordon, dry steaks, wet pants. Sean, quote him.
Hell yeah, dude.
And then ban them.
And then banned them. I'm not even like I banned the other fool because he was just too much for me today. But generally speaking, I like to go back and forth. But 2025, I'm gonna try to go back and forth less and just ban people because I'm the one on the show. That's the beauty of this. I'm here. You're there.
Everyone jail.
I can shut you off. You can't shut me off. You can't shut my mouth. Never.
One thing you can't shut off, apparently your bladder.
Oh man, I
Yeah,
hope you
yeah.
guys know we're just having a great.
Sean's on that soapbox because he needs to fucking wash himself after pissing himself. Jeez.
Oh no, Mike Hank. New
Oh,
pals
Mike
with
Hank.
his
Oh,
pants.
I know what I'm doing after this show.
Oh my god, dude, why?
It's just gonna be a
Not-
pair of sweatpants with a gray spot in the crotch that says "For Famke Jensen." No context to these pants at all.
Oh, I love it. What a fun day. Oh my goodness. Absolute Overthinker says Sean doesn't start it but finishes it. Remember that, Sophie Turner. If you're out there watching, wasn't she newly single? Didn't that Jonas fool just fumble her?
Oh
I'm
yeah.
a next up.
Just that was like 3 years ago.
Oh shit. I'm stuck. Call me.
Style says, now I know why New York City smells like that.
Because that we're just out here.
Oh shit. Love it, love it, love it. All right, guys. As much fun as we're having. I'm sorry, CW Gordon. CW said I missed most of this stream, and I think 90% of what I watched has been piss talk. Happy New Year and never change. I am so sorry, dude. Run it back because I think it's devolved now, but I actually think we had some pretty good conversations earlier on in the podcast.
And we have to
Sean,
record more after this too. So
Right, we're not even done. Jeez.
Sean, Sophie Turner, divorced September 2024.
I knew it. I knew it. She's primed.
ugh. Ugh.
What?
She's free. She's
What is
free.
this, paint?
Yeah.
For a date.
This paint?
Yes. Exactly. And you know what? I think they had kids together.
They
Listen,
did.
I'm great with kids. Just throwing that out there. That's all I'm saying.
They love me. I feed them.
Absolutely. I got no problem with that.
Damn, Sean's stealing their fruit snacks.
No, I don't even eat, please. I don't eat snacks. I never eat snacks. The only snacks I eat are popcorn and pretzels. That's it. So I will not steal the kids' snacks. Oh my goodness. I was trying to end the show, but then I look and I see the comments. Jay Sage. Oh, dude. Oh my God. Jay Sage said, someone tell Dr. Umar about Sean. Dr. Umar would hate me. I'm telling you right now. He would hate me.
Sean's at the ski resort.
All right. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been a phenomenal show. I've had a great time. I actually need to go relieve my bladder. So does Tyler. Not to meet anybody. Just in general, it's a must.
No, I already went. I thought we were okay with pissing our pants, so I just decided to go
Just
for it.
let it happen.
When in Rome.
Mike Hank said Sean is the father that stepped up. You got that shit right.
There.
I take care of my kids, and I'll take care of your kids. All right. If Sophie Turner hits my line, if she calls my phone and she says to me, these kids need a father, I'll step up.
To the plate.
Yes. And I'll knock it out the park. How about that?
There it is. So,
You're damn
Sophie,
right.
call. Hit us up. Got the email.
Please. I gave my number to Jeff Johns. You think I wouldn't give my number to Sophie Turner? Sophie Turner?
I got to hit the button.
Black queens forever, snow bunnies never. I said black queens forever, snow bunnies never. I said black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
I have not found a spot to use that in about 2 years.
That is unbelievable. Oh my goodness, that's so fucking funny, dude. Wow. I can't even look at the chat. If I'm going to end the show, I can't look at the chat. I just need to end it. All right. Thank you guys so much. The next time we will be live with you is Thursday for Pals Pools, but don't miss our Monday show, Pals Previews. We need to get those numbers up. We don't talk about piss on that show, so if that kind of talk bothers you, that's the show you need to watch.
Yet.
Just you wait. Hold on.
Appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Like on the way out if you haven't. We'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace.
See you next week.